Chapter 160. The underworld demonic wolf could not care less about its claws being stained by Ding Si's underworld spiritual fire, as it was facing an even greater danger. Jidong's demonic flame drill was already in front of it, and it could only raise its two hind claws to block as much as possible. At the same time, it released all of its mana without holding back. But who knew that at this moment, Jidong's attack changed again? His rapidly spinning body suddenly stopped without warning. The underworld demonic wolf was preparing to withstand the attack with all its might, but the attack did not arrive. The feeling of using the wrong strength immediately caused the fire on its body to surge, and its body also became sluggish in midair. What made it even more shocked was that Jidong had disappeared. Where did Jidong go? At this moment, he had already silently appeared behind the underworld demonic wolf. The benchmark technique that was much weaker than the demonic flame drill, the Dark Moon Claw, was quietly waved and swept past the underworld demonic wolf's waist without any resistance. What were the characteristics of a wolf? The waist was the biggest weakness of a wolf. The reason why Jidong could instantly appear behind, it was naturally because of the flying serpent flash. In the first acceleration, he had only used the flying serpent flash once. At this moment, he changed his body again and naturally used the second flash. This seemingly simple Dark Moon Claw instantly caused the extreme fire to completely suppress the underworld demonic wolf's mana. The blue elemental body that was covered by the fire was not only broken, but its entire body was also stained with a thick layer of black, and its entire body was completely stiff in midair. What happened next caused Lon Bauer, who had seen Jidong's strength many times, to exclaim once again. The originally pitch-black color of Jidong's body instantly turned into a brilliant gold, and the profoundness also turned into a blazing dominance. He punched out with his right fist, and the scorching sun devour once again heavily struck the underworld demonic wolf's waist. The ultimate dual fire combination skill was produced. This was also the first combination skill that Jidong had used. With a loud bang and a powerful explosion, the black color of the underworld demonic wolf's body was replaced by gold. The terrifying explosive force caused its huge body to tremble violently, but it was still fixed in midair, unable to move. At this moment, Jidong's body changed again, turning the gold color back to black. It was still the simplest Dark Moon Claw that quietly slashed across the underworld demonic wolf's body. In reality, to a Class 6 magical beast, Jidong's most basic Dark Moon Claw was not very powerful. It could only rely on the attribute of the ultimate flames to produce an effect. However, if the Dark Moon Claw was used together with the ultimate yang flames, the effect would be completely different. The explosive power of the combination skill appeared for the second time, forcefully changing the gold color of the underworld demonic wolf's body to gold again. The ultimate flames changed to ultimate yang flames for the third time, followed by the scorching sun collapse. Afterwards, the Dark Moon Claw flew out, and the scorching sun explosion followed closely. All 6 attacks combined only took 3 breaths of time, but the underworld demonic wolf's body went through 6 changes: black, gold, black, gold, black, gold, black, gold. When the scorching sun explosion and the terrifying pillar of fire shot into the sky, the Class 6 magical beast was no different from the flaming lion from before. Its body exploded in the ultimate yang flames, and not a single residue was left behind. Only 2 balls of light shot into the sky. Lon Bauer had just cried out in surprise when she quickly covered her mouth. However, the shock in her eyes did not diminish in the slightest. What kind of effect had the 6 consecutive attacks produced? That was a combination of 5 attacks. The 5 ultimate dual flames combination skill. Even if it was the most basic skill, the power of the combined attack would definitely surpass any of Jidong's sure kill skills. Let alone an underworld demonic wolf. Even a Class 7 Platinum Sky Rock would not be able to withstand all 6 attacks. Its final outcome would not be much better than the underworld demonic wolf. Everything that happened in front of him was Jidong's greatest gain, after comprehending the yin-yang fish. He had achieved the most powerful attack with the least amount of magical qi. Ever since he and Lon Bauer set off this time, they had already killed dozens of magical beasts. The weakest was Class 4, and the strongest was Class 6. However, Jidong had not used the Hopper skill even once. The sure kill skills like the Brilliant Sun All and the Ice of Flames were powerful, but the magical qi consumed by any one of them was equivalent to the sum of 10 hit skills. Jidong relied on the skills he already had to recombine them. The Scorching Sun Triple Strike was dispersed by him and combined with the Dark Moon Claw. Although he only added the Dark Moon Claw's effect of slowing down the opponent, as well as the effect of the combination skill between Ultimate Yang Fire and Ultimate Yin Fire, increased the power of the attack by many times. This was Jidong's first attempt. What made him the happiest was that when the 6-layered combination skill was completed, he could clearly feel that the explosive effect of the Scorching Sun Triple Strike did not weaken at all. Instead, as the combination skill continued to explode, the superimposed power was unleashed. 6 consecutive strikes. This was completed in the blink of an eye. Even though Jidong could feel that he had only grasped the embryonic form of this 6-layered combination skill and had not truly perfected it into a new skill, this was undoubtedly a good start. Raising his hands, just as Jidong caught the 2 items that fell from the air, Lon Bauer could not help but ask, "Can you tell me, what skill did you just use?" Jidong muttered, "That is the combination of my own standard skill and hit skills. The opponent that is hit by my 6-layered combo will seem to be under an endless curse. They will not rest until they die. Let's call it the 6-layered killing curse." 6-layered killing curse? What a domineering name. Jidong, don't tell me that you just created this skill? Lon Bauer looked at Jidong as if she was looking at Monster. Jidong shook his head and said, "That's not it. It was the embryonic form that I thought of last night, but it was the first time I used it. I didn't expect it to actually be completed." He was able to use the 6-fold curse, of course. It was his own understanding, but the most important thing was the yin-yang fish behind him. Without the complete fusion of the 2 sovereigns' ultimate magic power, how could he instantly transform Yang Fire and Yin Fire? And naturally, it would be impossible to complete such an attack. When he first used the ultimate dual fire combination skill, he released the dual magic at the same time when he used the combination skill. The Yin Fire in his left hand and the Yang Fire in his right hand could also produce the effect of the combination skill. However, at that time, whether it was the left hand or the right hand, he could only use half of the power, and he was also restrained by the Yin and Yang attributes. The effect of the combination skill was not comparable to what he was seeing now. Previously, when Jidong launched the 3rd layer of the 6-layered killing curse, the netherworld demonic wolf was actually already dead. He just wanted to completely complete this skill and feel the profound meaning in it, so he used it completely. The consumption of magic was not much, and it could even be said to be pitifully little. This was the most terrifying part of the 6-layered killing curse. In terms of power, the bright sun cone and the ice of flames were not much weaker than it, but in terms of magic consumption, the difference was too great. At this time, more things were flashing in Jidong's mind. The 6-layered killing curse was just the beginning. If he added other skills after this 6-layered killing curse, as long as his magic could be maintained, then the attack could naturally continue, and the superposition effect would naturally increase exponentially. Last night? What's the difference between that and thinking about it now? Jidong, this time I realize that you really are a monster. It seems that I will never be able to catch up to your footsteps. Lon Bauer sighed softly, and there was a sense of loss in her expression. Jidong smiled and said, "In fact, my 6-layered killing curse itself is not difficult. The difficulty lies in the attributes. After I was seriously injured this time, I've been thinking about how to increase the attack power while consuming as little magic as possible. It seems that I have found a shortcut. I hope that my 6-layered killing curse can also make you have an epiphany. In fact, the magic skills of the same attribute cannot be connected without the heart. Just like my Scorching Sun Triple Strike, The key point is how you can make the opponent be hit every time you attack, and how you can completely defeat the opponent in the continuous attack. Think about it carefully. Lan Bao nodded, listening to Ji Dong's words. Coupled with the deep impression that the six-tier killing curse had left in her heart, she seemed to have grasped something. Self-created demonic techniques were top-notch existences in the world of demon masters. Everyone wanted to create their own, but there were only a few who could actually create a useful demonic technique. Every time a self-created demonic technique brought enlightenment, the demon master's own understanding of their own element would take a step forward. Seeing that Lan Bao was deep in thought, Ji Dong was not in a hurry to continue forward. As he recovered the magic that he had consumed previously, he opened his palm and looked at it. If the Netherworld demonic wolf had only left behind one item after its death, he wouldn't have even looked at it. He would have directly stored it in his vermilion burr bracelet, because it would definitely be the Netherworld demonic wolf's crystal core. However, the Netherworld demonic wolf had clearly left behind two items. What could the other item be? It should be known that that item had not been burnt by his ultimate dual flames. The thing that appeared in his hand was a fist-sized 6th-grade fire crystal core. Ji Dong did not pay much attention to it and directly put it into his bracelet. However, the other thing that appeared made him interested. It was a pure white jade tablet without any impurities. There were a few ancient seal characters on the jade tablet. Ji Dong looked at it carefully and recognized that it was written, Deity Slayer. Deity Slayer? So arrogant? What does that mean? Ji Dong looked at the jade tablet in his hand doubtfully, not understanding what it meant. Lan Bao was awakened by his voice. When she saw the jade tablet in Ji Dong's hand, she could not help but exclaim, "Is this the Jade of Heaven?" Although she was not sure, her previously depressed mood had clearly become excited. Even her body was trembling a little. Jade of Heaven? What is that? Ji Dong handed the jade tablet to Lan Bao. Lan Bao took it in her hand and looked at it carefully. The jade tablet was in the shape of a cupboard. Apart from the 3 seal characters of Deity Slayer on the outside, there were no other patterns or marks. The body was extremely smooth, and it felt comfortable to the touch. It even felt a little warm. Lan Bao did not directly answer Ji Dong's question. She carefully activated a trace of Gui Shui magic and poured it into the milky white jade. The purple Gui Shui magic entered it like ink. However, a strange scene happened. After the purple magic entered the jade, in an instant, it rippled on its own. It was discharged in the same way it entered. There was no trace at all, and there was no aura of the Gui Shui attribute. Is it really the Jade of Heaven? Lan Bao said in disbelief. Ji Dong asked again, "Is the Jade of Heaven very precious?" Lan Bao nodded and said, "Have you heard of the 5 elements divine stone?" Ji Dong said, "Of course I have heard of it. The 5 elements divine stone is actually 10 kinds of gemstones, each representing a type of attribute. It has extremely pure energy." Lan Bao said, "The 5 elements divine stone is already a treasure of heaven and earth, but at most it is the divine grade of the earth. However, the Jade of Heaven is like the divine grade of the heaven. Even if all 10 5 elements divine stones were gathered together, it would not be comparable to a piece of Jade of Heaven that is only 1% of their size. Ji Dong, you have picked up a treasure this time, and it is a priceless treasure." Priceless treasure? What is the use of this thing? It does not seem to have any magical aura. So how can it be better than the 5 elements divine stone? What can it do? If it is just a toy, no matter how precious it is, it does not have much meaning to us magicians. Toy, Lan Bao said impatiently. It seems that you really do not know anything. You are right. The Jade of Heaven does not have any magical attribute. But have you ever thought that even a grain of sand has its own attribute, such as the earth attribute? When an item has no attribute, what does it represent? Hearing Lan Bao say this, Ji Dong immediately understood. His body trembled slightly, and he said, "Chaos." Lan Bao said seriously, "That's right, it is chaos. The Jade of Heaven is a treasure condensed from the aura of chaos when the chaos was first formed. when the chaos broke apart and turned into the five elements, giving birth to all things in the world. There are very few of them, and they only exist in legends. With such a treasure on you, no matter what your own magical attribute is, there will be no danger of cultivation deviation. As long as you place it on your chest, where the source of your magical power is, you will not have to worry about anything even when you're trying to advance. Do you think it is valuable? Jidong suddenly understood and said, I see. The Jade of Heaven is indeed a good thing. But what do the 3 words on it mean? Deity slaying strike. Such exaggerated 3 words, what does it mean? Lon Bauer said, the Jade of Heaven is a treasure that every magician would want to obtain. Its value is even higher than a divine weapon. I have read through the ancient records of my family. In the ancient records, the greatest use of the Jade of Heaven in ancient times was not to assist in cultivation, but to store memories, or rather, to brand. Chapter 161. Store memories or imprint? Jidong looked at Lon Bauer doubtfully. Lon Bauer nodded and said, because its body is of the chaotic element, no mana can harm it, not even the ultimate mana. Only extremely strong mental strength can inscribe it, so it's the best medium for storing. According to ancient records, it's usually used to store demonic techniques. The 3 words deity strike may very well represent the demonic technique stored in this piece of Jade of Heaven. Without a doubt, a demonic technique that can be stored in such a precious material must be very powerful. It's very likely a sure kill technique. That nethershade demonic wolf is really pitiful. It had the treasure, but it couldn't obtain the profound meaning within. Hearing the words store demonic techniques, Jidong's eyes lit up. He had heard that although danger lurked everywhere in the holy evil battlefield, there were also many opportunities. The deeper one ventured, the greater the opportunities. Whether it was the corpses and crystal cores of powerful demonic beasts, or the crystal crowns and magical weapons and equipment of the powerhouses who had died here, they were all extremely precious. Naturally, there were demonic techniques among them. If it could be called the deity strike, then the technique stored in this piece of Jade of Heaven might really be a sure kill technique. Handing the Jade of Heaven back to Jidong, Lon Bauer said excitedly, Jidong, quickly take a look and see what type of demonic technique this is. If it's suitable for you, then it'll be great. You can learn it immediately. Even if you don't have enough mana, you can memorize it first and slowly comprehend it in the future. Is she excited because of me? Jidong shook his head and shook off the stray thoughts in his mind. He took the Jade of Heaven and focused his mind. His consciousness accompanied his own mana and slowly flowed into the Jade of Heaven. It was strange that the moment Jidong's consciousness communicated with the Jade of Heaven, the piece of Jade of Heaven seemed to come to life. A layer of faint white mist was emitted from the Jade of Heaven, and in the blink of an eye, it wrapped around Jidong's right hand. That peaceful aura indeed did not have any attributes. All the various magical elements in the air were completely dispersed. With Jidong's body as the center, the area within 3 meters became a magical element vacuum. Jidong's hand slid down, and the Jade of Heaven was like a small fish carved out of white jade. With a slight movement, it had already entered through the gap in the breastplate of the Jun Mo Yin-Yang armor on Jidong's chest. It tightly stuck to the center of Jidong's chest, as if it was embedded there. A warm and moist feeling entered his body. In that instant, all the pores on Jidong's body seemed to open up. The vermilion bird armor automatically retracted, and that warm and moist feeling entered his body in countless strands. After the strands of warm air entered Jidong's body, they moved chaotically in all directions, as if they were looking for something. At this moment, the chaotic flame in Jidong's chest suddenly fluctuated violently. As if it had sensed the aura of the chaotic flame, the first strand of warm air that entered Jidong's chest suddenly moved and shot into the chaotic flame like an arrow. The chaotic flame was like a scout for all the warm air currents and found its target. In the next moment, the countless strands of warm air currents instantly surged and entered the chaotic flame. In that instant, The chaotic flame in Ji Dong's chest suddenly rose, as if it had obtained fuel. Ji Dong's body stiffened, and an extremely strange feeling appeared in his heart. Previously, after the yin-yang vortex had evolved into a yin-yang fish, his body could already absorb the fire element from the outside world and add it to his own mana. However, at this moment, the mana in his body was completely blocked by the strange warm air currents and the chaotic flame. However, the rising chaotic flame was continuously splitting up huge and pure yin and yang fire elements to fuse with his own mana. Up until now, Ji Dong's chaotic flame had only been an extremely minute existence from a strand to a strand. However, at this moment, with the nourishment of the chaotic chi in the heavenly jade, the chaotic flame actually rose more than 3 inches in Ji Dong's chest. The air around Ji Dong's body condensed, and a layer of faint white light appeared on the demon Lord Yin-Yang armor. All the mana he had previously used up was completely recovered in this instant, and even improved. He could clearly feel that his mana had instantly risen from level 49 to the peak of level 50, and was only a step away from the last level of the quadruple crown. It was also at this moment that the black and gold yin-yang fish quietly turned black and white, just like the Tai Chi he had seen in his previous life. The chaotic flame sat in the center, causing the yin-yang fish to have a faint layer of milky white luster. All the elements in the air quietly moved away, as if they were being repelled. Even the yin-yang crown on top of Ji Dong's head had turned milky white at this moment. The originally overlapping yin-yang flames had transformed into milky white flames, and his entire temperament had become even more reserved. His willpower expanded exponentially. If his previous spiritual world was only the size of a palm, then, at this moment, it seemed as if it had suddenly grown to 10 square meters. The spiritual imprint in the jade of heaven instantly merged with his own imprint. Without needing to look or remember, all the contents of the jade of heaven had already been deeply imprinted in Ji Dong's mind. The words jumped in his heart, becoming the most profound memory. Ji Dong still didn't know how to cultivate the chaotic flame, let alone control it. However, he had already been saved by the chaotic flame in several critical moments. This made him deeply understand how important this most original flame was. Although he still didn't know how to use this mysterious flame, the strengthening of the chaotic flame was undoubtedly extremely beneficial to his cultivation. The 3-inch tall chaotic flame became much more obvious. Ji Dong's reserved temperament was deep and peaceful, and the arrogance and tyranny in his bones were completely hidden. If it wasn't for the demon Lord Yin-Yang armor's fierce and tyrannical presence, he wouldn't have looked like he was emitting any mana. The white light gradually faded, and all the mana waves had already disappeared. The Jade of Heaven had also disappeared, no longer existing. Lon Bauer was actually not wrong. For a normal demon master, if they had a piece of Jade of Heaven, they wouldn't need to be afraid of Qigong deviation during cultivation, and it would be much safer for them to break through any barrier. However, for Ji Dong, his chaotic flame already had this effect. Furthermore, the Jade of Heaven, which used chaos as its source, sensed Ji Dong's chaotic aura and directly merged with his chaotic flame as if it had found its home. This kind of situation was unpredictable, but there was no doubt that this kind of fusion would completely integrate the benefits of the Jade of Heaven into one's body. The milky white light was reserved. Other than his temperament, all the changes on Ji Dong's body had returned to normal. The slowly spinning yin and yang fish in his chest was still black and white, and no longer black and gold. Opening his eyes, the first thing Ji Dong saw was Lon Bauer's concerned gaze. "How is it? Is it the overkill skill?" Lon Bauer asked with some excitement and joy. A bitter smile appeared on Ji Dong's face. He said, "The Jade of Heaven has already fused with my body, and the things that record me are also imprinted in my spirit. However, it isn't some super ultimate skill. If we were to measure it in terms of skills, it should be considered a benchmark skill. It can't even be considered a destiny skill." Lon Bauer was obviously stunned. She said, "That can't be. A skill stored in the Jade of Heaven can be a benchmark skill?" Ji Dong said, "Among the destiny skills, there are two types: external attack and internal attack. In other words, there are long-range attacks and close-range attacks. Only the benchmark skill is completely close-range, and it can't be external. The deity's slaying strike recorded in the Jade of Heaven can only be a close-range attack, or rather, it can't even be considered a close-range attack. This is because when it is used, no magic will leave the body. It can only be used when the body touches the opponent. Lan Bauer was surprised. She said, "What kind of skill is this?" Jidong said, "To be more precise, the deity's slaying strike should be considered a method of using magic. It completely accumulates the magic in our body when we use the skill, and when we touch the opponent, it will be released instantly. Through the records in the Jade of Heaven, I can only understand this much at the moment. More mysteries can only be understood after training. Bauer, when we leave the Holy Evil Island, I will record a copy for you." Lan Bauer hurriedly shook her head. She said, "There's no need. You killed the demonic wolf, so the things you get are naturally yours." Jidong smiled. He said, "It's just a skill. Everyone who sees it has a share. We are partners." Lan Bauer pursed her red lips. She didn't refuse anymore. She nodded lightly and said, "All right then. Thank you." She said so, but in her heart, she thought that it was not bad to have the same skill as him. They continued to move forward. With the experience of killing the demonic wolf, Jidong finally understood what the opportunities on the Holy Evil Island were. Although it was the first time he encountered it after killing so many demonic beasts, he was already very lucky. For others, the Jade of Heaven was just an auxiliary tool, but for him, it was no less than an artifact. The speed of the chaotic firebat was improved. At the same time, it also improved his spiritual power, so he could naturally control his demonic power more easily. Jidong vaguely felt that after the yin-yang fish changed its color to that of the Taiji diagram, it would be easier for him to switch between the two ultimate demonic powers. The closer the yin and yang dual attribute combination skill was, the more powerful it would be. After killing the demonic wolf this time, the six-fold kill curse, which was not inferior to the ultimate skill and could save a lot of demonic power, had opened a new door for him. It would also be the main direction of Jidong's practice in the future. The benefits of the Jade of Heaven undoubtedly made it easier for him to practice in this aspect. As for the God-killing strike, he would have to wait until he left the Holy Evil battlefield to study it. According to the record, this skill seemed to be simple and did not match its name. However, could it be recorded in the Jade of Heaven so easily? Everything had its own priorities. It would not be too late to research the mysteries of the God-slaying strike when he could truly calm down. There were not many magical beasts on the 7th floor. After all, they were all Class 6 magical beasts. Every single one of them had their own territory. Jidong and Lan Bauer continued onwards. Under the situation where they could not dodge, Jidong killed another 4 Class 6 magical beasts before finally arriving at the boundary between the 7th and 8th floors. Fortunately, they did not come across any magical beasts that were stronger than them on the 7th floor. Even if they came across a Class 7 magical beast, it would not be so easy. Class 7 magical beasts were far more powerful than Class 6 magical beasts. A single Class 7 magical beast was equivalent to 10 Class 6 magical beasts at the very least. This was also why Jidong did not hold back at all when he faced the Platinum Celestial Punk. Once the powerful Class 7 magical beast unleashed its full power, they would probably not have a chance anymore. Out of the 5 Class 6 magical beasts, Jidong gave 2 of them to Lan Bauer. He was selective when he faced Class 6 magical beasts. If it were him, he would do his best to choose fire-attributed magical beasts. With Lan Bauer present, he could obviously use both fire-attributed and water-attributed magical beasts at the same time. After using the 6-fold curse several times, Jidong became more and more familiar with this new combination skill. His guess was very accurate. Due to the effect of the Heaven Jade on the chaotic fire, it was easier for him to switch between extreme Yang fire and extreme Yin fire than before. It did not even bring any burden to his body. The power of the 6-layered killing curse had also become more and more astonishing. If there was any limitation to this skill, it would be the distance. If he wanted to use it, he had to first get close and hit the opponent with the first attack. When they arrived at the boundary between the 7th and 8th floors, the most obvious change was still the environment. Standing halfway up a mountain, Jidong looked forward and saw that the front was already blocked by a towering mountain. The misty clouds only seemed to reach halfway up the mountain. The majestic aura surged out, but it was not something that the 7th floor of the Holy Evil Island could compare to. The two of them stopped. Every time they were about to enter the next floor, they would stop to adjust their strength and simply replenish themselves so that they could better face stronger opponents. What Jidong found rather strange was that they did not encounter a single demon master from the Five Elements continent along the way. Just as Jidong and Lon Bauer were about to rest for a while, a deafening and extremely dull rumble suddenly rang out from the mountains in the distance. The violent rumble was like several hundred bolts of lightning exploding at the same time. It reverberated through the mountains, and its aura was extremely shocking. The huge thunder triggered a series of reactions. Other than the huge rumble, the dark clouds in the sky also began to violently ripple. The clouds above the mountainside were violently pushed aside, revealing the pure, white mountain peak. Chapter 162. Thunder. Jidong's eyes suddenly narrowed. What did the sound of thunder represent? If it wasn't heavenly thunder, then in his memory, only Fury, the Thunder Emperor, could produce such a sound. This was at least the sound produced by the full release of a top-notch sure-kill skill. It might even be an existence that surpassed a top-notch sure-kill skill. If it wasn't for an extremely strong opponent, why would Senior Brother do this? Senior Brother has encountered a strong enemy. Let's go quickly. At this time, Jidong could no longer care about anything else. He grabbed Lon Bauer's hand and instantly accelerated. Relying on the super flexibility of the flying serpent transformation, his body released explosive power and rushed into the 8th layer of the Holy Evil Island like an arrow. Lon Bauer could clearly feel Jidong's anxiety at this moment. She did not ask much and hurriedly gathered all her magic power to reduce Jidong's burden as much as possible. What made her feel a little regretful was that Jidong's injury only had metallic texture, but did not feel real at all. The dual brilliance of sun and moon gloves and the Devil Lord Yin-Yang armor completely covered his palm. In the blink of an eye, the two arrived at the foot of the opposite mountain. Jidong paused for a moment and directly chose to climb the mountain. The mountain here was so high, and the battle there was so fierce. From the top of the mountain, it should be easier to determine Fury's position, so that he could rush over as soon as possible. With the ultimate dual fire and his own 5-element formation, Jidong was confident that he could help Fury. The two figures of Jidong and Lon Bauer advanced quickly on the mountain like jumping stars. For ordinary people, it would take at least a few hours to climb a mountain of more than 2,000 meters. However, for magicians like Jidong and Lon Bauer, they had already passed the waist of the mountain in at least a quarter of an hour and arrived above the clouds. However, at this moment, something strange suddenly happened. The whole mountain suddenly trembled without warning. Then, accompanied by a loud rumble, Jidong and Lon Bauer saw that not far above their heads, all the way to the top of the mountain, suddenly swayed. The next moment, thousands of tons of ice and snow suddenly crashed down. Not good, an avalanche. The thunder was so loud that it shook the ice and snow on the mountain. It was only now that it started to collapse. Quan Nature's power was limitless. Seeing the ice and snow falling from the sky, Lon Bauer couldn't help but be shocked. Jidong reacted very quickly. He pulled Lon Bauer into his arms and activated the vermilion bird transformation. At the same time, his entire body was covered in a layer of golden red flames. He flapped his wings and flew into the sky. He took advantage of the moment when the avalanche had not completely descended. At this point, he no longer cared about hiding himself. From afar, Jidong looked like a big bird flying high. He spread his wings like a vermilion bird descending. He shot into the sky with golden red flames. The ice and snow that were closest to them melted when it came into contact with the extremely hot magic of a yang fire. It was directly turned into steam. Without waiting for more ice and snow to fall, the two of them were already in midair. The yin-yang fish appeared behind Jidong, but this time it had been inscribed with the soaring yang fire matrix. Jidong's embrace was a bit domineering. It made Lan Bauer uncomfortable. However, at this moment, this kind of embrace made her feel very safe. Listening to the rumbling under her feet, Lan Bauer felt her heart tremble. If it was just her, she might have already died in this ice and snow. Even a water element demon master would not be able to withstand such terrifying ice and snow. Naturally, Jidong did not know what Lan Bauer was thinking at this moment. He flapped his wings and shot toward the top of the mountain like a flaming meteor. With the amplification of the soaring yang fire matrix, his flying speed was not inferior to any flying magical beast. In the blink of an eye, the two of them had arrived at the top of the mountain. It was only at this moment that the might of the avalanche was fully displayed. It could be clearly seen that the mountain had already turned into a world of ice and snow. Large amounts of icy mist rose into the air, and the rumbling continued for a long time. The astonishing might of the avalanche was breathtaking. Jidong landed steadily on a broken piece of ice on the top of the mountain. He released his embrace and looked at Lan Bauer's frightened face. He said in a low voice, "It's okay now." Lan Bauer nodded hurriedly. Her delicate appearance, coupled with the panic in her purple eyes, was exceptionally lovable. She combed her slightly messy silver hair and stole a glance at the embrace that had been so close to her. Lan Bauer said softly, "You saved me again." Jidong shook his head and looked into the distance. At this moment, he did not pay too much attention to Lan Bauer. His senior's safety was the most important thing. At this moment, another violent roar of thunder sounded. Amidst the loud rumble, one could see from the high ridge that they were at that moment that a bolt of bluish-purple lightning shot into the sky 3 mountains away from where they were. The dark clouds in the sky also lit up with bolts of lightning. It was as if the 10,000 lightning calamity realm had been triggered. "Senior should be over there. Let's hurry over." Jidong pointed in the direction where the lightning had appeared. Just as he was about to fly up with Lan Bauer again, he was pulled back by Lan Bauer. "Jidong, wait a moment. What do you think that is?" Lan Bauer pointed to the side as she spoke. Jidong was stunned for a moment. He looked in the direction where she was pointing and saw that there seemed to be a person within the solid layer of ice at the top of the mountain, about 7 or 8 meters away from them. It was a person who was completely frozen in the ice. The two of them looked at each other. It was obvious that the person who was frozen, there was already a dead person. They had only been exposed after the avalanche. They did not know how long they had been frozen there. Jidong's figure flashed and appeared in front of the layer of ice. He was surprised to find that the person frozen in the ice was actually a woman. She was wearing a dazzling golden full-body armor, and even her face was covered. Only her golden hair was frozen in the ice. Her right hand was raised, and her palm could not be seen. There was only a golden longsword that was 2 meters long pointing forward. It seemed like she was attacking. This woman was slender and more than 8 meters tall. She was a few inches taller than the current Jidong. Although her face could not be seen, there was no doubt that she was an outstanding female warrior. She should be of the Yin metal element, which was also the metal element magician. What a beautiful set of armor! Lan Bauer could not help but exclaim. Gold, silver, and jewelry were always the most attractive things to women. There were almost no exceptions. The armor on the frozen female warrior was indeed dazzling. Although the golden armor was sealed in ice, it still shone brightly. There were many arc-shaped patterns on it. The patterns were dark gold in color, and they complemented the golden armor. In addition to her fluttering golden hair, she gave off an extremely strong sense of oppression. Lan Bauer said, "She is so pitiful. I wonder how long she has been frozen here." Jidong said, "If you like this set of armor, I can melt her out and give it to you." Lan Bauer hurriedly shook her head and said, "There is no need. She is of the metal element, which is different from me. Since she is already sleeping here, let's not disturb her." Jidong smiled and said, The avalanche has already caused her to reveal the ice. If we do not do anything, and it is someone else instead, I am afraid that she will be directly smashed out of the layer of ice. I am afraid that she will be even more miserable. No matter what, she is still a powerful demon master. Although we are not greedy, we can melt her out. After we leave this place, we can bury her outside. Lan Bao nodded and said, "That would be best. I really want to see what she looks like." Ji Dong smiled and said, "That is easy. You just need to dodge a little." To him, melting such a piece of ice was as easy as lifting a finger. He placed his left hand on the surface of the ice, and the yin-yang crown turned into a black yin crown. The ultimate yin fire was quietly released, and a thick layer of black flames covered the surface of the ice in the blink of an eye. If he used the ultimate yin fire, it was very likely that it would destroy the corpse in the layer of ice. However, if he used the yin fire to corrode and melt the ice, it would not. When Jidong's ultimate yin fire came into contact with the ice, he immediately realized that something was wrong. The layer of ice actually had a strong resistance against his ultimate yin fire, and the speed at which it melted was extremely slow. One had to know that he was using the ultimate yin fire, and not the ordinary yin fire. The ice and snow did not melt quickly in front of Ding Si's dark yin fire. What did this mean? It meant that the ice in front of them was not ordinary ice. Jidong quickly increased the output of his magic power, and a strange scene appeared. The layer of ice 1 meter away was affected by the ultimate yin fire and quickly melted. However, the part of the ice that enveloped the golden-armored woman melted very slowly. In the blink of an eye, an irregular ice pillar that was 3 meters tall and 3 meters in diameter melted from the surroundings, appearing in front of Jidong and Lan Bao. The icicle was clear blue and crystal clear, like the pure sapphire. It only showed its original appearance after it broke away from the surrounding ice and snow. It seems that she was not frozen to death by the weather, but killed by someone here. If I'm not wrong, what froze her should be the ultimate yin water magic power, and it is a very strong ultimate yin water magic power. The caster's strength is far above mine. Otherwise, my ultimate yin fire would not be unable to melt her. I'm afraid it will take a long time to melt her out of the ice. Now is not the time. Let's take this ice and help Senior Brother Fury first. As he spoke, Jidong waved his right hand, and a golden red light was released from the vermilion bird bracelet. The light swept across and absorbed the ice pillar. Jidong was surprised to find that when the vermilion bird bracelet's aura came into contact with the strange ice, it actually trembled slightly. After the ice pillar was absorbed, the space inside the vermilion bird bracelet shrank by 10 times, and a faint layer of cold air was emitted from his wrist. What a strong ultimate yin water magic power! Jidong was greatly surprised. One must know that this vermilion bird bracelet was forged for him by the third fire mythological beast, Vermilion Bird. This was just a piece of ice that had been frozen for God knows how many years, but the residual magic power in it could actually have such a huge impression on the Vermilion Bird bracelet. Then, it could only be said that the strength of the person who sealed this golden-armored woman was beyond Jidong's imagination. Could it be that the former heavenly stem saint? Without much time to think, Jidong injected a Binggu primordial yang sacred fire into the Vermilion Bird bracelet. It was strange to say that the cold air immediately quieted down after sensing Jidong's Binggu primordial yang sacred fire. The space inside the Vermilion Bird bracelet also returned to normal. Even Jidong himself did not realize that the 3-inch-tall chaotic fire in his chest had slightly pulsed. Jidong wasn't able to release the chaotic flames as he didn't have control over such a powerful flame. However, the mana within his body contained a trace of the chaotic flame's aura. Even he himself didn't know that it was because of this reason that the frost on the icicle was temporarily suppressed. Jidong, how do we go over? Lan Bao's pretty face was slightly red, and she asked in a low voice. Jidong was slightly stunned. His plan was naturally to fly over directly. This was the fastest way. He had not noticed this problem previously because he was in a hurry. If avoiding the avalanche was a last resort, Then if he flew over directly now, he would undoubtedly have to hug Lonbauer again. Ever since he felt that Lonbauer liked him, Jidong had been very careful not to let Lonbauer misunderstand him. In his heart, there was no room for anyone else. However, it seemed that it was the will of the heavens that allowed him to meet Lonbauer again. He sighed in his heart, "Flaming Bar, if you see this, don't blame me. Bauer, we are friends, and now we are comrades. This is an urgent matter, and I have to act according to the situation. Please forgive me." Jidong was never an indecisive person. After thinking for a while, he had already made a decision. He took a step forward, and as Lonbauer let out a soft cry of surprise, he had already hugged her by the waist. His figure flashed, and he had already activated the soaring Yang Flames formation to its limit. He suddenly rose from the top of the mountain, and like a golden meteor, he shot straight in the direction of the thunder and lightning. During the avalanche earlier, Lonbauer was still a little frightened. At this time, her emotions had already calmed down. When she was hugged by Jidong again, she subconsciously opened her arms to hug Jidong's neck. However, she realized that the spikes around the Jun Mo Yin Yang armor's mask would hurt her. However, she did not retract her arms. Instead, she turned to hug Jidong's waist and pressed her body against his armor that was emitting a scorching aura. Even though the fire-attributed magic made her a water-attributed demon master, very uncomfortable at this moment, her heart was filled with a strange warmth. In the blink of an eye, they had crossed 3 mountain peaks. Jidong heaved a sigh of relief. During this process, he did not encounter any attacks from magical beasts. It must be known that at this time, his body was burning with the ultimate Yang flames, and his target was very obvious. When he flew past the 3rd mountain peak, his eyes suddenly opened up. What appeared in front of him was actually a huge basin. Lightning flashed, and there was another violent roar. This time, it directly exploded in front of Jidong. Chapter 163. Jidong and Lonbauer finally flew past the 3 peaks and entered the 8th layer of the Holy Evil Island. What appeared in front of them was a basin. It was extremely large, and it was surrounded by mountains. There were all kinds of plants growing in the basin. However, he was not in the mood to appreciate these at the moment. When he looked at the basin, he saw fury at first glance. There was a thunderous rumble, but it was not made by fury. In the center of the basin, a magical beast that Jidong had never seen before was standing there proudly. The thunderous rumble that was comparable to a top-notch sure-kill skill actually came from its mouth. If Jidong had to describe the magical beast in front of him, he would say that among the dinosaurs of the Cretaceous period in his previous life, there was a Tyrannosaurus rex that was extremely similar to the magical beast in front of him. However, even the Tyrannosaurus rex did not have the might of the magical beast in front of him. This magical beast that looked like a Tyrannosaurus rex was actually more than 60 meters tall. It stood proudly like a 20-story skyscraper. From its head to its thick tail, it was more than 100 meters long. In the basin, all kinds of plants were destroyed. The magical beast's entire body was black, and there were spikes protruding all over its body. The tip of each spike was emitting a strong magical wave and shining with a bluish-purple light. Its ferocious appearance would make people tremble with fear just by looking at it. Although Jidong did not know what kind of magical beast it was, its strength shocked Jidong. Because this magical beast had spikes growing all over its body, it could be said to be flawless. It opened its mouth wide, and a bluish-purple light had already broken through the air, blasting directly at Fury, who was sitting on the purple thunder heavenly dragon in midair. Spitting lightning from its mouth was comparable to a sure-kill skill. How powerful was this kind of power? However, the Thunder Emperor was the Thunder Emperor after all. Fury's expression was solemn, and he was neither happy nor angry. Seeing that the lightning was coming, he waved the thunder axe in his hand. At the same time, the purple thunder heavenly dragon released a bolt of lightning to fuse with his thunder axe. In the loud bang, the 2 bolts of lightning collided, causing another earth-shattering sound. At least from the current situation, Fury was temporarily fine. If there was a flaw in this huge magical beast, it would probably be that it could not fly. With Fury's strength, it might not be enough to attack the enemy, but it was definitely more than enough to protect himself. If he wanted to leave, this magical beast in front of him would not be able to stop him. From the current situation, this magical beast's strength should have reached at least the 9th rank. Even so, could a 9th rank magical beast have such a tyrannical aura? How much magic was stored in that majestic body that was 60 meters tall? Seeing that Fury was fine, Ji Dong heaved a sigh of relief. He quickly retracted his wings and landed on the side of the mountain. He put down Lan Bauer and calmly observed his surroundings. What he saw shocked him. Fury was not the only one here. On the 2 sides of the mountain near Fury, there were at least 100 demon masters from the 5 Elements continent. Ji Dong also saw Yi Xian on the peak of the mountain. They seemed to be holding the line for Fury. And opposite them, on the other side of the basin, there were also more than 100 people waiting quietly. The yin-yang crown on each of their heads was emitting a faint circle of black light. They were the demon masters from the 5 Elements continent. No wonder they did not encounter any enemies along the way. It turned out that most of the demon masters from both sides were gathered here. It could be said that in this basin, all the elites of the 2 continents who were participating in the battle of the holy and evil were gathered. Fury obviously did not use his full strength to deal with that magical beast. It was obvious that he was afraid of the enemies opposite him. He was the backbone of the 5 Elements continent. Once his strength was damaged, it was very likely that his side would be completely defeated. What was so special about this magical beast? How could it attract so much attention from both sides? The light of the extreme yang fire was too dazzling. When Ji Dong flew over, Fury had already seen him. From the magic waves that were emitted from Ji Dong's body, Fury understood that his little junior brother had already recovered his strength. He was immediately delighted. He understood Ji Dong's strength very well. Moreover, Ji Dong had previously used a sure kill attack. With his little junior brother around, it would be much easier to deal with the current situation. Ji Dong said to Lan Bauer, "Bauer, go and meet up with your senior sister Yi Xian. I may cooperate with my senior brother later. I'm afraid I won't be able to take care of you." Lan Bauer nodded and said, "You must be careful. There are many enemies on the other side." After saying that, she immediately soared up and went to meet up with Yi Xian. Looking at Lan Bauer's back, Ji Dong could not help but sigh in his heart. "Bauer, you really are a good girl who understands others. It's a pity that we are not fated to be together. I'm sorry." As he thought about it, Ji Dong suddenly raised his head and shouted at Fury, who was in the sky, "Senior brother, let me help you." As he said that, Ji Dong soared up and turned into a golden stream of light, flying straight towards the purple Thunder Sky Dragon. The 2 of them were telepathic. At the same time that Ji Dong soared up, Fury activated the purple Thunder Sky Dragon and slammed it towards the huge creature below. The glaring purple light on the Thunder Axe and the lightning on the purple Thunder Sky Dragon were released at the same time. The man and the dragon became one as they slashed down. Although this was a normal attack, the Thunder Emperor Fury used the purple Thunder Sky Dragon that was as high as the 8th level. Even a normal attack was equivalent to a sure kill skill of his own. This was the importance of a companion mount. With the help of a mount, the strength of a Devil Master would definitely increase by several times. The monster was also very afraid of Fury. This was the first time it encountered an enemy that could not be killed by its lightning. Especially with so many humans on the surrounding mountains, it was constantly in a frenzied state of mind. It had already tried to break out of the encirclement a few times, but no matter which direction it attacked, it would immediately be met with the joint attack of hundreds of Devil Masters. It could not break out of the encirclement no matter how hard it tried. Facing Fury's sudden attack, it naturally had no time to care about Ji Dong, who was flying up. Once again, it spat out a bolt of lightning, and the violent roar was heard again. This time, Ji Dong was completely close to the power of the lightning. He only felt that the magical elements in the air were instantly thrown into disorder. At the center of the collision between Fury and the monster's lightning, a huge suction force instantly erupted, as if it wanted to suck everything in the surroundings into the range of the lightning. The soaring yang flames formation was activated. Jidong's figure stretched out, and he had already reunited with Fury. He sat on the back of the purple thunder sky dragon and was behind Fury. The two brothers reunited. Fury was in a good mood, and he laughed. The purple thunder sky dragon instantly spread its wings, and in the blink of an eye, it had already risen into the air. Most of the demon masters who were watching the battle revealed a look of surprise. The Thunder Emperor, Fury, was not only famous in the Five Elements continent, but also in the eyes of the elites of the Five Elements continent who participated in the battle of the holy and evil. They had never seen him before. There was a second person sitting on the back of Fury's powerful purple thunder sky dragon. Jidong's demon, Lord Enyang armor, shone with a dark red luster, and when he rose into the air, a golden light burst out. Although there were only 4 Enyang crowns on his head, when he soared into the air, he gave off an invisible pressure. Discussions rang out on both sides of the mountain peaks at the same time. Most people were guessing the identity of Jidong. On the side of the Five Elements continent, there were a few disciples of the Enyang Hall who knew about the situation. Although they did not know how strong Jidong was, they still remembered how Jidong instantly killed the second seat of the Enyang Hall, Ji Yifeng, whose magic power was as high as level 58 at the party. Although at that time, according to the rules, Ji Yifeng was not allowed to attack, and could only take the attack head-on. However, the fact that Jidong could break through the defense of a level 58 earth element and kill Ji Yifeng had set off a huge uproar in the Enyang Hall at that time. At this time, Jidong's strength had increased to the strength of 4 crowns and 4.5 stars, and his strength would naturally increase again. Therefore, none of the disciples of the Enyang Hall dared to look down on him. As for the side of the dark Five Elements continent, 2 figures that Jidong was familiar with were hidden in the darkness in the corner of the mountain peak. Seeing Jidong appear, the voluptuous woman with long dark green hair could not help but exclaim. It was the Darkwood Saint disciple, Scorpion. Not far from Scorpion, the Darkwater Saint disciple, Hanyu, said coldly, "Looks like that kid's strength has increased again. Back then, you didn't let me kill him. If I had made a move earlier and killed him before the Thunder Emperor arrived, there would not have been so much trouble. Although he cannot compare to the Thunder Emperor, his potential is even more terrifying than the Thunder Emperor's." Enough. Let's wait and see. In the darkness, a low voice rang out. Hanyu immediately stopped talking, and his expression clearly showed some respect. Regaining their confrontation, Fury placed his huge thunder axe on the back of the purple thunder brilliant heavenly dragon and said, "Little junior brother, has your body fully recovered?" Jidong took the lead and said, "Senior brother, don't worry. There's no problem anymore. We can fight." Fury laughed heartily and said, "All right, then let us brothers fight against the strong enemy together." Jidong lowered his voice and asked, "Senior brother, what's the situation now?" Fury said, "The situation is not good. This stalemate is very disadvantageous for us. You can see that the main target of this magical beast is me. Although we are not afraid of the people of the Five Elements continent, their dark heavenly disciples are almost all there. I haven't seen them for 5 years. Their strength has increased greatly. If we fight together, we may not be able to gain an advantage. I heard that the light heavenly disciples of our continent also entered the holy evil battlefield. How did they get in? Do you know?" Jidong said, "Li Ao is unruly and arrogant. Senior brother, don't count on them to help us. It's already good enough if they don't cause trouble for us. They were able to enter the holy evil battlefield because the holy evil passage was opened. The holy evil island has a teleportation formation left by the holy disciples. Senior brother, what kind of magical beast is this? I have never seen it in the records." Fury said, "This big guy is a mutated magical beast. If I tell you its original form, you will know it. It's a thorn flaming dragon." "This is a thorn flaming dragon?" Jidong was shocked. "Of course I know about the thorny flaming dragon. According to the catalog given to me by my grandmaster, it's a kind of subdragon that can't fly and belongs to the category of earth dragons. An adult thorny flaming dragon is about 10 meters long and 8 meters tall. It has outstanding ground attack power but it's clumsy. Among the 6th grade magical beasts, it's just above average. However, it likes to live in groups. If you encounter it, you just need to speed up and stay far away from it, and you won't be in danger. Fury nodded approvingly and said, "That's right, what you've said are all the characteristics of the blazing thorn dragon. Not a single bit less." Jidong said, "But this guy's body is 10 times bigger than the thorn flaming dragon. Is such a huge creature really a mutation of the thorn flaming dragon? This is unbelievable. The thorn flaming dragon is only a rank 6 magical beast, but this magical beast is at least a rank 9 magical beast. Also, it's a lightning element, while the thorn flaming dragon is a fire element." Fury said, "Not only is it a rank 9 magical beast, it's very close to it. I can tell you for sure that it is a mutation of the thorn flaming dragon, but you are wrong. It's not a lightning element, but a dual element. This is the most terrifying part about it. If it was just a rank 9 magical beast with a single element, I would have killed it long ago. Although it's a little difficult to kill a rank 9 magical beast, it's not too dangerous. But this guy's strength is beyond my expectation. It should be called the Thorn Flaming Dragon. Dual element magical beast?" It was the first time that Jidong had seen such a magical beast. He couldn't help but ask in doubt, "Senior, did this guy mutate because of the Myriad Lightning Calamity Realm?" Fury said, "The Myriad Lightning Calamity Realm definitely has some influence. All the magical beasts on the Evil Island will be affected by the terrifying lightning, so they are more powerful than the magical beasts outside. But it's impossible for them to have such a huge increase in strength. You should know that the Thorn Flaming Dragon doesn't have much room for improvement. If I'm not wrong, this Thorn Flaming Dragon must have eaten something to cause such a huge mutation. To be able to turn an ordinary rank 6 magical beast into a peak rank 9 dual element magical beast, I'm afraid that the thing it ate must be comparable to a divine weapon. Therefore, the value of this Thorn Flaming Dragon far exceeds that of an ordinary rank 9 magical beast. Moreover, after its body mutated, it gained a lightning element. That's why it's so attractive to me." After hearing Fury's words, Jidong understood. Just like the heaven jade that appeared in the belly of the nethershade demonic wolf that he had killed earlier, the belly of this thistle thunderfire dragon was likely to have something that Fury wanted. On this huge, holy evil island, perhaps all the opportunities were related to the magical beasts. No matter what was left on the island, it could be devoured by the magical beasts. Only the frozen woman that he had melted could retain her original appearance. Chapter 164. After listening to Fury's explanation, Jidong immediately understood that the heavenly jade had been devoured by the netherworld demonic wolf because it didn't have any mental strength to activate it. Hence, it had remained dormant in the netherworld demonic wolf's stomach until he killed it. However, the thistle lightning fire dragon in front of him seemed to have devoured something that actually fused with its own element, causing its strength to increase exponentially. From this, it could be seen that on this holy evil island, the more mutated a magical beast was, the greater the benefits it could bring. After understanding this, Jidong understood why Fury was unwilling to give up on this magical beast. If the Thistle Lightning Fire Dragon's stomach really contained a lightning element magical weapon, it would be of great significance to Fury. As a magician with a mutated element, he could only rely on Zhu Rong to forge a powerful magical weapon for him. However, lightning element raw materials were too rare. This could be seen from the fact that his armor was not as good as Jidong's. It was not that Zhu Rong was unwilling to forge it for him, but it was because he couldn't find suitable materials. Faced with the temptation of a lightning element magical weapon, how could the Thunder Monarch let it go so easily? Jidong asked, "Senior, what do you plan to do now?" Fury replied, "I discovered this fellow a few days ago and fought with it. In the end, no one gained the upper hand. With the flying ability of lightning, it couldn't chase after me even if it wanted to. However, it was also very difficult for me to really hurt it. However, it's also extremely difficult for me to truly harm it. This fellow's self-healing ability is extremely strong. Even my strongest sure kill technique is unable to heavily injure it. The huge commotion here has also attracted those fellows from the Dark Five Elements continent. What I can see, they can naturally see as well. Following which, the situation has become like this. With their presence, I can't do as I please. After all, I have to consider our Heavenly Stems Legion's Devil Masters. Once they lose my deterrence, it's very likely that the other party will turn out in full force. At this moment, it's difficult to advance or retreat. That's why I said that the situation isn't good. Jidong frowned slightly. From his battle with Scorpion and Cold Rain, he could tell that the overall strength of the dark magicians of the Five-Element continent was also very strong. Even if there were no experts who could match up to Fury, their overall strength was not inferior to his side. In this kind of balanced situation, once his senior brother's magic power was exhausted, the other side would definitely not let go of such an opportunity. If his side suffered heavy casualties, wouldn't this battle between the holy and evil be lost? The lightning attribute divine weapon was important, but so was the overall situation. No wonder Fury was in such a dilemma. Moreover, his senior did not have the confidence to kill the thorny lightning fire dragon. Senior, if you join me, we have at least a 70% chance of killing this big fellow. However, we must not be distracted. Right now, the difference in strength between us and the enemy is too balanced. We can't break it easily. I suggest that we retreat and not let the thorny lightning fire dragon escape. We'd rather spend 49 days to leave the holy and evil battlefield than let the enemy succeed. We can even gradually nibble away at the magicians from the Dark Five Elements continent. Winning the battle between holy and evil is the most important thing. We can deal with this thorny lightning fire dragon 5 years later. Fury's eyes revealed a bit of unwillingness, but he still nodded and said, "That's the only way now." Jidong patted Fury's broad shoulders and said, "Senior, you don't have to be disappointed. Who knows, maybe in the next month's practice, something special might happen. For example, a powerful magical beast or a group of magical beasts attacking this basin. Or," as soon as Jidong said that, his eyes suddenly lit up and he said, "Senior, I'm afraid the variable has really come. Look." As he said that, he raised his hand and pointed to the mountains on the left side of the basin. There were 8 figures leaping towards the basin like stars. Their target was obviously the mountainous thorny lightning fire dragon. From a magical aura that these 8 people emitted, Jidong could tell where they came from. Weren't they the 8 holy disciples who looked down on him in the woods? The appearance of these 8 people immediately caused a commotion among the magicians on the other side of the Dark Five Elements continent. The appearance of the 8 holy disciples had undoubtedly broken the balance between the two sides. The people of the Dark Five Elements continent couldn't possibly know that these holy disciples and the Heavenly Stems Legion were not the same. Releasing 8 types of ultimate magical power at the same time was quite terrifying. Even the thorny lightning fire dragon let out a fierce roar. Fury suddenly turned his head and looked at Jidong. Both of them saw the determination in each other's eyes. Fury raised the thunder axe above his head and shouted, "Heavenly Stems Legion, the target is the Dark Magician. Attack!" As he said that, he didn't care about the thorny lightning fire dragon on the ground anymore. The purple thunderbolt heavenly dragon instantly accelerated and pounced on the dark magician on the opposite mountain peak. Fury and Jidong were telepathically connected. When the 8 holy disciples appeared, they knew that they were here to take advantage of the situation. Although they were extraordinarily bold, the thorny lightning fire dragon might not be able to deal with them with their ultimate magical power. However, it was not easy for them to kill the thorny lightning fire dragon. At this moment, it was the best time to strike. Only by defeating the magicians of the Dark Five Elements continent, as soon as possible, could Fury free himself to snatch the things and crystal cores that the thorny lightning fire dragon had devoured. The 8 holy disciples played the role of a troublemaker. They broke the balance and brought about an opportunity. Even the magicians of the Heavenly Stems Legion from the Radiant Five Elements continent thought that the 8 holy disciples were their comrades after the appearance of the 8 holy disciples. At Fury's command, The entire Heavenly Stems Legion immediately moved. Several powerhouses above the 6th rank leaped up and rode their magical beasts. They were the first to rush out, followed by the disciples of the Inyang Hall and the rest of the magicians. Comparing the strength of the light magicians and the dark magicians, from the perspective of powerhouses, the dark magicians had more dark stem saints. However, in terms of overall quality, the light magicians had the upper hand. The existence of the Inyang school was not for nothing. There were more than 10 magicians who were above level 50. Moreover, in terms of actual combat, magical control, and other aspects, they were far superior to ordinary magicians. The strength of more than 40 disciples of the Inyang Hall was enough to close the gap in a number of powerhouses on both sides. Moreover, there was a heaven-defying existence on the side of the radiant 5 elements continent, Thunder Emperor Fury. The purple thunder heavenly dragon soared into the sky. Fury swung the thunder battle axe in his hand. The purple thunder heavenly dragon beneath him let out a monstrous roar, and dazzling lightning instantly erupted. There was no doubt that Fury's strength had been greatly increased on the holy evil island, which was covered by the myriad lightning calamity realm. There was no lack of lightning element here. The purplish-blue lightning instantly enveloped him, Jidong, and the purple thunder heavenly dragon, turning into a huge ball of lightning. Then, as the thunder battle axe pointed forward, the huge ball of lightning suddenly exploded, turning into 9 huge lightning dragons with long fangs and 5 claws. They split into 9 directions and headed straight for the opposite mountain. A head-on attack fully displayed the strength of the Thunder Emperor. 9 dragons flying together. This was the powerful amplification of the human-dragon fusion. Even though Fury's strength had reached 7 crowns, he was only using the 7 dragons' heaven-shocking art when he was alone. But with the addition of the purple thunder heavenly dragon, the 7 dragons became 9. This wasn't just a change in numbers. The 9 lightning dragons that erupted out were more than double in size. Each dragon was equivalent to an advanced lightning element sure kill technique. The Thunder Emperor was powerful and domineering, but he definitely didn't lack intelligence. His 9 dragons were extremely scattered. There was only one goal, and that was to prevent the strong, dark demonic masters from being able to rescue in time. As expected, although hundreds of lights lit up on the opposite mountain, they were completely disrupted by Fury's 9 dragons' heaven-shocking art. The dark demonic masters who weren't even at 5 crowns didn't even have the strength to resist. They were frightened by the powerful pressure in the air. The dark heavenly stem saints were all gathered together, so it was obviously impossible for them to scatter and rescue in 9 directions. Even though they reacted quickly, they only managed to block 6 lightning dragons. The remaining 3, under Fury's control, exploded in the midst of the densely packed, dark demonic masters. In just this one attack, more than 30 dark demon masters were blown to smithereens. Violent explosions and the aura of lightning reverberated in the air, accompanied by the angry roars of the dark demon masters. Sitting behind Fury, Jidong's eyes were filled with shock. He wasn't shocked because of Fury's strength, but because of his own body. He realized that although his senior brother had released extremely powerful lightning element magic, he didn't feel any pressure at all. Even though he had the ultimate dual fire, this had never happened before. Could it be that after his chaotic fire leveled up, he had a stronger resistance to external elemental suppression? On the opposite mountain peak, a long howl rang out. "Fury, long time no see." An extremely calm voice reverberated in the mountains. A white figure rose into the air, and in the blink of an eye, he was already in mid-air. Dazzling golden light lit up below him, as if tearing the void apart. Immediately after, a black light flashed, and a huge black dragon silently appeared below him, supporting his body. Seeing this voice, Jidong clearly felt the aura emitted by his senior brother explode like a geyser. He pointed the thunder battle axe in his hand forward and shouted, "Li Yonghao." On the black dragon, the man called Li Yonghao by Fury quietly stood on the dragon's head. This person was tall and slender, with a head of short black hair. He looked valiant and heroic, and his entire body was filled with a metallic texture. His appearance was very ordinary, and there was nothing special about him. However, he had a pair of extremely deep eyes. The strangest thing was that although he was a gung metal element demonic master, he was riding a powerful black dragon that continuously emitted a dark aura. In terms of level, this black dragon was definitely not weaker than Fury's purple thunder heavenly dragon. As it breathed, black air swirled around it, making it impossible to see its entire appearance. Li Yonghao smiled faintly. Apart from his white robes, he did not even wear any armor. He appeared extremely calm and collected as he said, "The Thunder Emperor is indeed the Thunder Emperor. He killed 30 of my brothers the moment he attacked. His valiant nature has not changed at all." Fury sneered and said, "The ultimate weapon is still the ultimate weapon. Come, let me see your ultimate gung metal again." The ultimate weapon, Li Yonghao. These simple words gave Ji Dong a piercing feeling. He had heard Fury mention this person more than once. Not only did he have the ultimate gung metal demonic power, his strength was also very strong. All along, he was only slightly weaker than Fury. Looking at him now, for some reason, this person gave Ji Dong an extremely dangerous feeling. Could it be that he was this generation's dark heavenly stem Saint King? To be called the ultimate weapon, it was very obvious that this dark gung metal saint was the same as Fury, and his forte was attack. "Little junior brother, go and help the others." The aura on Fury's body continued to rise, like a volcano that was ready to erupt at any time. On the other hand, the ultimate weapon, Li Yonghao on the other side, looked at them calmly and didn't act rashly. "Senior brother, be careful." After leaving these simple words, Ji Dong soared into the sky. The vermilion bird's wings instantly spread open, and he flew straight towards the opposite mountain peak. At this time, the Five Elements mainland's devil masters had also rushed over, and both sides were on the verge of a chaotic battle. Li Yonghao stared at the direction where Ji Dong flew, smiled slightly, and said calmly, "Brother Rue, you have a good junior brother. I heard from my sister that she was almost killed by your junior brother. It seems that although your junior brother is a little young, he is this generation's dark heavenly stem Saint King." The yin-yang crown on Fury's head shone brightly, and he said, "Li Yonghao, in another 5 years, my junior brother will replace me. This year, he is not even 17 years old, more than 10 years younger than you and I. When he really grows up, I want to see what your Five Elements mainland can use to resist." Li Yonghao said indifferently, "You don't have to worry about this. Fury, you are still the same. You have never changed, and you are still so strong. Do you think you can still beat me this time? Don't forget, I am a heavenly stem saint, and you are not." As he said that, a faint white airflow quietly descended, and a metallic luster enveloped his body. Suddenly, this white airflow expanded and completely turned into a brilliant gold. A set of tight-fitting golden armor covered Li Yonghao's body, and a golden spear that was 7 meters long and as thick as an arm also appeared in his hand. From the looks of it, this armor and weapon seemed to be formed from his own magic. Chapter 165. Fury did not show any surprise at the changes on Li Yonghao's body. Obviously, this was not the first time he had seen this scene. However, when he saw the 7 golden sun crowns that appeared on top of Li Yonghao's head, his pupils could not help but shrink violently. 7 crowns. He had actually reached the level of 7 crowns heavenly master. Fury's heart sank slightly. 5 years ago, his magical power was 5 levels higher than Li Yonghao's, and in the end, he barely won and defeated his strongest opponent, thus leading the Heavenly Stem Legion to victory in the battle between the holy and evil. However, this time, when he faced Li Yonghao again, the other party's magical power was only 1 level lower than his, and he had also reached the level of 7 crowns. Level 72 versus level 71, and the other party was the ultimate gung metal. Even if Fury had the mutated thunder attribute, this battle would be extremely difficult. The momentum of both sides was rising sharply. Fury's advantage was that his magical power was one with the purple thunder heavenly dragon, and the advantage of the final weapon, Li Yonghao, was his ultimate gung metal magic power, and the black dragon he rode was also a variant species. No one could predict the outcome of this battle. The two rank 8 dragons roared almost at the same time, and with an indomitable momentum, they charged straight at each other. The sky darkened in an instant. In addition to the thunder and lightning, there were only dark clouds. The collision of the two powerhouses of the heavenly master level, the battle between the strongest under the age of 50 in the light and dark continents, had finally begun. When the 8 holy disciples who were besieging the thorny thunderfire dragon saw this scene, their faces could not help but change. Although they were very arrogant, they could clearly feel that the strength of the two people in the sky was not something they could match at present. On the other side, Ji Dong bent down. The vermilion bird's wings spread out, and the blood-red eyes revealed by the devil yin and yang armor exuded a cold color. He had just begun to descend, and at least 5 rays of light went straight to his body. Being in the air, the enemy had already regarded him as a target. The confrontation between the two celestial master stage powerhouses in the sky seemed to have triggered the pride in Ji Dong's heart. Although his current strength was far from being able to come into contact with that level of battle, he believed that one day he would be able to stand on the highest battlefield representing the Guangming continent. A dark blue radiance quietly appeared on the vermilion bird's inner armor. His figure flashed, and Ji Dong's body abruptly moved 10 meters horizontally in the air. The next moment, his body had already landed on the opposite mountain peak unscathed. It was the flying snake flash. As the skill of the heavenly stem divine beast, the flying serpent flash's greatest characteristic was that it made it impossible for the opponent to lock onto him. At this time, Ji Dong also fully displayed this point. The monarch devil yin-yang armor released a bright light, and the sun crown appeared, turning into a brilliant gold color. The extreme yang fire attribute suppression was directly released. Magic fluctuations came from his side, and in the midst of the metal clanging sound full of destructive aura, a 5-meter-long white giant sword slashed down out of thin air. It was just when Ji Dong had not yet stabilized his footing. The giant sword cut through the air, making an ear-piercing sound of metal friction. What greeted Ji Dong's arrival was impressively a gung metal attribute sure kill skill. Ji Dong did not even look in the direction of the giant sword. His feet took a wrong step, and the tip of his toes lightly touched the ground. His body had not yet stabilized, and his whole body had already flipped over. It looked like he was falling down the mountain. The giant sword blocked all the possible routes for Ji Dong to dodge, but unexpectedly, he jumped down the cliff as if he was committing suicide. The giant sword paused for a moment, and then chased after Ji Dong's body. His body was once again in the air. The vermilion bird's left wing slapped, and Ji Dong's body instantly flipped to the side. Under the effect of the soaring yang fire array, his speed was displayed to the limit. He could also clearly see that the one attacking him was a 30-year-old 5-crown devil master. His hands were raised in front of him, and he was controlling the giant sword that was definitely a sure kill level sure kill skill. A shrill whistle sounded from Ji Dong's mouth. His body suddenly stopped in midair, and then he activated the flying serpent flash. This time his body only moved 3 feet and then bounced 3 feet up, but it was this short 3 feet that not only allowed him to avoid the opponent's attack, but also allowed him to arrive above the giant sword that was slashing down. His right fist instantly turned golden, and with a loud bang, the Tai Chi yin and yang fish quietly appeared behind him. Ji Dong's fist just bombarded the ridge of the white giant sword. The extreme yang fire erupted at the moment when the two sides collided. Although the white giant sword was a sure kill skill, it was only an ordinary sure kill skill. With the pursuit, its momentum had been weakened. Although the single attack was strong, the attack power was on the blade. Ji Dong's punch was like hitting the snake's weak point. When Ji Dong landed, although this sure kill skill had already been launched, the 5-crown devil master who used it had already been affected by Ji Dong's magic, causing his own attack power to be greatly weakened. At this time, when Ji Dong's fist bombarded the ridge of the sword, Ji Dong's body took advantage of the momentum to rebound, and the sure kill skill was completely condensed from energy. In the center of the white giant sword, there was a big hole. The next moment, it shattered and turned into surging gung metal magic that scattered in the air. With the help of the scorching sun devour punch, Ji Dong's body bounced up, and with the irregular rhythm of the vermilion bird's wings, he changed his body shape in the air and went straight to the five-crowned devil master who attacked him. "Be careful!" A delicate voice came from not far away. This voice was very familiar to Ji Dong. It was the dark Imu Saint disciple Scorpion who had fought with him twice before. Her shout was obviously to remind the five-crowned devil master. On the side of the dark camp, no one knew Ji Dong's strength better than her. Being able to enter the holy evil battlefield, the five-crowned gung metal magic master was undoubtedly an elite of the dark five elements continent. Seeing Ji Dong's whole body blooming with golden red flames rushing towards him, the strong attribute suppression made him feel a sense of suffocation. In his heart, he quickly retreated in the direction of Scorpion, and at the same time, he did not hesitate to release gung metal magic, turning into countless white lights, heading towards Ji Dong. He did not want to hurt Ji Dong, but to buy time for his own retreat. He had just used a sure kill skill, and the magic of the five-crown gung metal great grandmaster could not be restored to its peak. The skill he released was called 10,000 arrows piercing the heart, an area of effect attack. However, what made his heart tremble was that in the face of his best attack, the gung metal magic skill, Ji Dong did not seem to see it at all. Not only did his forward speed not change, but he accelerated again. The long arrows shining with white light shot towards his body, bouncing off one after another. The demon lord Yin Yang armor did not even have the slightest ripple, and the long arrows that directly hit the vermilion bird armor directly melted. The dark five-crown gung metal great grandmaster was already somewhat sluggish. This was the first time he had seen someone use a method of blocking to deal with a magic skill. No matter what, his magic skill was displayed with the cultivation of a five-crown. Seeing the malevolent golden mask enlarging in front of his eyes, looking at the demonic light flashing in the blood-red eyes, he almost crazily roared, both fists punching out. When they collided, there was a loud clang, and a strong smell of metal flowed in the air. Both hands clasped together, condensing into a 2-meter-long white broadsword, directly chopping down towards Ji Dong's head. His rich combat experience told him that if he continued to retreat now, only death awaited him. Only by using all his strength to block Ji Dong could the reinforcements arrive. But how could Ji Dong give him another chance? Facing the broadsword, Ji Dong still did not have any intention of dodging. He only raised his left hand and directly grabbed it. "You're courting death," the five-crowned demon master roared. He refused to believe that his opponent was clearly only a four-crowned demon master, yet he dared to look down on him like this. Even with the existence of the attribute suppression, he did not believe that Ji Dong could only use one hand to block his attack. But reality was often cruel. With a light ding sound, when the 2-meter-long broadsword fell on Ji Dong's left hand, it stopped just like that, as if it was made of copper and iron. No matter how the five-crowned dark demon master urged it, it could not cut even the slightest bit. A cold light flashed in Ji Dong's eyes. He pulled his left hand back. His body, which had been nourished by the blood of the dragon, vermilion bird, and flying serpent, was extremely powerful. The five-crowned demon master's body immediately fell in his direction. At this moment, his fate was already decided. The heart of the dark demonic wood saint disciple Scorpion, who was rushing over, clearly sank. A golden figure flashed, and Ji Dong and the five-crowned demon master crossed paths. Scorpion only saw a golden and black light flickering for a moment, and the five-crowned demon master's body was already frozen in place. When Ji Dong had already passed him by about 5 meters, there was a loud bang, and a golden and black pillar of fire soared into the sky. The gung metal demon master of the great grandmaster level had already disappeared without trace. He did not use the 6-layer killing curse. It was just a simple close-range attack. The sharp spikes of the devil monarch Yin Yang armor popped out and fiercely pierced into the opponent's chest. How could the opponent's ordinary armor block the Devil Monarch Yin-Yang armor of the demonic god level? The golden and black light flickered alternately. That was Ji Dong instantly changing his own demonic power, separately injecting a portion of Bing Wu Primordial Yang Sacred Fire and a portion of Ding Xiyin Spirit Fire into the opponent's body. What would be the result of injecting the ultimate dual flames directly through the chest? Scorpion's eyes were already somewhat red. Although she admired Ji Dong very much, the existence of this man was a huge threat to the entire Five Elements continent. "Bastard barbarian, go to hell!" As she shouted, the Ewid totem, 6 directions, had already lit up behind Scorpion, and a strong aura of life rose. Although she knew that she was not Ji Dong's opponent, she believed that with her ultimate Ewid demonic power, it would not be a problem for her to entangle Ji Dong. However, facing Scorpion, who was rushing over quickly, Ji Dong only glanced at her indifferently. In the next moment, he had already sprung up, and the vermilion bird's wings flapped. His body instantly accelerated, and he rushed to the side. At this moment, the battlefield had already fallen into chaos. Nearly 400 Devil Masters from both sides had fallen into a chaotic battle, and deafening explosions were constantly sounding in the air. The battle between Fury, the Thunder Emperor, and the final weapon, Li Yonghao, had also reached a white-hot level. However, their cultivation levels were similar, and it would not be a matter of time before a victor could be determined. The situation that Scorpion was most unwilling to see had happened. Ji Dong did not fight with her. His figure flickered, and he had already rushed toward the chaotic battlefield. Scorpion's heart was already cold. What would it be like to let such a tyrannical, devil-like person rush into the chaotic battle? In order to speed up the pace, Ji Dong did not even pick up the dark crystal crown that the Five Crowns' great grandmaster had left behind. Because she had fought with Ji Dong before, Scorpion's task was to block Ji Dong and do her best to fight with him. However, Scorpion sadly discovered that she could not keep up with Ji Dong with her speed. She could only flap her metal wings with all her might and chase after the golden figure. What she needed now was the time that the Dark Devil Master on her side had left behind. His body flashed, and Ji Dong was already in the middle of the fight. He saw Lan Bauer fighting another 4-crowned Earth-type demon. Lan Bauer was in the middle of a fight. She was fighting a 4-crowned Earth-type demon. When Ji Dong looked over, he was surprised to find that Lan Bauer had already gained the absolute upper hand. It should be known that among the 5 elements, Earth restrained water. Both sides were 4 crowns leveled Devil Masters, but Lan Bauer was actually able to completely suppress her opponent. It could be seen how outstanding her control of magic and the use of her skills were. Hidden behind the mask, a faint smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. This girl was indeed worthy of being a disciple of the Yin-Yang Hall. Scorpion was chasing from behind. Of course, Ji Dong knew that, but he did not care. With the help of the soaring sun flame spell formation, his speed was not just a little bit faster than Scorpion's. Stretching his body, he didn't care about the opponent that was the first to get close to him. As his body flew forward, he waved his hands behind him. Instantly, dozens of golden lights flashed. 10 of the golden lights flew towards the Scorpion that was chasing after him. The other attacks seemed to have grown eyes, attacking the 7 or 8 dark magicians that were closer to him. Hit skill, Dragon Scale Flash. The attack power of Dragon Scale Flash itself was not strong. After all, it was a group attack skill. However, Dragon Scale Flash had its own characteristics. When it was activated, every third fire dragon scale was compressed and had a very strong explosive power. Once it was touched, it would immediately explode. Its power was definitely not weaker than the grenades from Ji Dong's previous life. Moreover, the dragon scale flash that Ji Dong had condensed was extreme yang fire. In a battle where both sides were evenly matched, the sudden attack of such a dragon scale from the outside would undoubtedly affect the entire battle. Rumbling sounds came from behind, accompanied by screams. Under the effect of Ji Dong's dragon scale flash, not only did he block Scorpion, but he also killed at least 3 Dark Devil Masters. The Devil Masters of the Heavenly Stems army were also elites. Who would let go of such a good opportunity? With such ease, they could already obtain a crystal crown. As for Scorpion, he was so angry that he almost vomited blood after this round of attack from Jidong. Chapter 166. Jidong naturally did not care about what Scorpion thought. His figure flickered and appeared beside Lan Bauer. The earth element dark magician had already been suppressed by Lan Bauer to the point of suffocation. Suddenly, an unparalleled strong pressure came from his side, and he immediately turned pale with fright. For earthen walls rose almost at the same time, tightly protecting his body. However, his earthen walls could block Lan Bauer's attack. But how could they block Jidong? Two rays of light shot out from Jidong's shoulders at the same time. It was the sacred fire elemental body and the devil flame elemental body. They had been attached to Jidong's pauldrons, and at this time, under the control of Jidong's thoughts, they directly launched an attack. The black and gold flames merged in the air to form a fireball with a diameter of a foot, crashing into the earthen walls. Jidong's vermilion bird wings had already spread out, and he flew away. His voice echoed in the air. The four words "collect the crystal crown" were obviously said to Lan Bauer. Before his voice fell, the roar had already sounded. They were both four-crown magicians, but their magic power level was lower than Jidong's, who could block his ultimate double fireball. Moreover, Yimo was completely suppressed by Lan Bauer, and he hurriedly launched a defense. The four layers of defense on the upper walls were instantly torn apart by the terrifying magic power, like a rag meeting a sharp blade. The upper elements were torn to pieces. When a nest is overturned, how can there be an egg unbroken? The body of the four-crown magician had been instantly swallowed by the black and gold flames. Since entering the battlefield, as many as 5 dark magicians had died directly or indirectly at the hands of Jidong. Although he did not obtain a crystal crown, his participation undoubtedly caused the dark magicians to suffer. At this time, Jidong's advancing body suddenly stopped, and a chill that caused the temperature to plummet blocked his way. A sinister voice sounded. "Scorpion, it seems that you can't handle him alone." Twisting his slender waist, the dark water saint, Hanyu, appeared in front of Jidong and was shrouded in purple armor, walking towards him step by step. Although he looked disgusting, with every step he took, the temperature in the air dropped significantly. The other magicians who were fighting around also pushed away, unwilling to enter his aura. Behind Jidong, Scorpion had also stopped. Together with Hanyu, they formed a pincer attack on Jidong. Two great saints, and both with magic power as high as level 58, attacking a single person showed how great the threat that Jidong posed to them was. A smile floated at the corner of his mouth. Without looking at Hanyu in front of him, Jidong suddenly turned around and looked at Scorpion, whose armor was slightly damaged. He said, "We meet again." "Oh, right. What did you say your name was last time?" Scorpion was stunned for a moment. Then he became angry and said, "Bastard, you only saw me now? You even forgot my name?" Jidong patted his mask and said, "Oh, right. That sissy with a slender waist called you Scorpion. So you are a vicious scorpion. I don't know when, but now even magical beasts can transform into human form. It seems that your cultivation is not bad. You're courting death. Barbarian, I'm going to kill you." Scorpion was completely enraged by Jidong. The intense dark green light instantly turned bright white. She spread her hands on both sides of her body and made a flying posture. The ultimate Ewood magic power instantly spread out, and all the plants on the mountainside resonated with it. Although Scorpion's aura at this time was quite powerful, Jidong's greatly improved mental strength still grasped the changes in her compared to the last time they met. At this time, although her magic power looked strong, the source was unstable. It was a bit strong in appearance, but weak in reality. Obviously, her vitality had not been restored. At this moment, the gloomy voice sounded from behind Jidong. "Who are you calling a sissy?" Jidong said without turning his head. Generally speaking, a sissy is used to describe a person who is neither male nor female, and this kind of person is likely to be the worst in the world. They are called eunuchs. Do you know what eunuchs mean? I think you should know that eunuchs have another title, which is yin and yang people. I heard that yin and yang people have rotten butts. It seems that you're really rotten. Jidong's voice was not that kind of teasing, but cold and very serious. His voice was very loud, and almost everyone on the battlefield could hear it, except for the Thunder Emperor and the Ultimate Weapon, who were fighting in the air. Hearing Jidong's words, Scorpion's pretty face could not help but twitch a few times, as if she was holding back her laughter. She said in a low voice, "Barbarian, you're too mean." The chill behind Jidong suddenly disappeared, but it did not feel like it had disappeared. It was more like a prelude to a volcano that was about to erupt. "I'm going to tear you into pieces." An extremely ear-piercing scream pierced the sky, and the Darkwater Saint, Cold Rain, exploded. The more effeminate a person was, the more he hated it when others called him a sissy. It was the same for Jidong's good friend, Bissot. However, compared to Cold Rain, Bissot was a few levels less effeminate. At this time, the Darkwater Saint's brain had been deeply stimulated by Jidong's words. Ever since he possessed the ultimate Kuei water magic, his personality had been constantly changing, becoming more and more feminine. However, because of his own strength and his status as a saint, no one would talk about him in this aspect, not even his fellow saints. Every word of Jidong's cold and serious words was like a sharp knife stabbing into his heart, stimulating his bloodshot eyes. His anger had reached the extreme, and there was only one thought in his mind, which was to completely destroy the enemy in front of him. A huge tortoise appeared behind him. Its whole body was pure black, but the magic it emitted was the same as Cold Rain's, pure amethyst color. It was the water totem, Black Tortoise. With the appearance of this water totem, the surrounding temperature suddenly dropped to ice. Cold Rain's thoughts and resentment were all locked on Jidong. The magic in his body was released explosively like never before, not stingy at all. The huge shadow of the Black Tortoise suddenly rushed into his body. Cold Rain's body and his armor all turned into a transparent amethyst color, turning into the purest elemental body. The crazy extreme Kuei water magic instantly solidified above his head, and a round purple mysterious ice appeared. This was not the first time Jidong had encountered this scene. Back then, it was with this ultimate skill that Cold Rain broke through the Suzuku inner armor on Jidong's body, and almost killed Jidong. However, the purple mysterious ice at that time was only about 1 meter in diameter, but this time, the mysterious ice's volume increased to 3 meters in diameter. The almost solidified aura and the more distinct tortoise shell pattern were like the resurrection of the Black Tortoise, which was shocking. Cold Rain's gaze clearly revealed some weakness, but there was even more madness. He had already condensed all of his magic power into this attack. And at this time, Jidong still did not seem to see him, and there was no suppression of the water element of fire at all. His body suddenly rushed forward, unexpectedly pouncing on the scorpion. Jidong never did meaningless things. He naturally had his own purpose in provoking Cold Rain. "Do you really want to die?" The scorpion couldn't help but say. Even she had seen Cold Rain so angry for the first time. What kind of combat power could a heavenly stem saint break out under the attack of anger? This blow of Cold Rain was definitely not inferior to the ultimate skill of an ordinary 7-crown Devil Master. But not only did Jidong not respond to it, but he also rushed towards her. She didn't know why. Although the two sides were hostile, there was an inexplicable worry in Scorpion's heart. However, in the face of Jidong pouncing on her, she certainly could not ignore him. The extreme Ewood magic that had already condensed was instantly formed, and the Ewood Totem 6 directions bloomed behind her, turning into pure magic fluctuations, condensing into a huge 6-petal jade lotus that spun out, attacking Hyoheim. Although there was an inexplicable feeling for Jidong in her heart, the scorpion had this name, so her heart was not that kind of soft. For Jidong, she only had more admiration. On this battlefield, in the face of such a strong enemy, she would never be merciful. The jade lotus spun, completely locking on to Jidong's body, with the purest extreme Ewood magic pouncing on his face. At this time, at this moment, Jidong had the extreme Ewood ultimate skill in front of him, the six-petaled jade lotus, and behind him was the extreme Gu water ultimate skill, the black tortoise extreme kill, which was launched by Cold Rain with all her strength. The critical situation at this time could be imagined. In midair, the Thunder Emperor also noticed the situation here, but he was not worried. He did not know that the power of Ji-Dong's 4 dragons and 4 snakes had long been exhausted. In his opinion, since Ji-Dong dared to face the opponent like this, he obviously had a card up his sleeve. With the power of the 4 dragons and 4 snakes, there would not be a problem for him to protect himself. Ji-Dong, be careful. Lan Bao's shocked voice sounded. Hearing her shout, Scorpion's heart skipped a beat, and she thought to herself, so this barbarian's name is Ji-Dong. She did not change her action of pouncing on Scorpion, but suddenly, in front of Scorpion, Ji-Dong disappeared. Her spirit, that was clearly locked on to Ji-Dong, instantly lost its target. Not only did the feeling of exerting force in the air shock her, but even the ultimate skill that she had launched stopped in the air for a moment, and the magic in her body poured out wildly. It must be known that it was easy to launch an ultimate skill, but it was very difficult to maintain the ultimate skill, and the consumption of one's body was extremely huge. At this moment, Saint Water's black tortoise extreme kill had already been launched. The 3-meter-long purple tortoise shell ice shard rotated rapidly, like a huge circular blade. At the same time that this ultimate skill was launched, Cold Rain, who had focused all his thoughts on Ji-Dong, also felt the same as Scorpion. Ji-Dong's aura seemed to have been forcefully stripped from the battlefield, causing them to lose their target. In reality, Ji-Dong's body was still in their line of sight, but he had already deviated 5 meters from his original position, leaping out diagonally. There is no doubt that the only thing that could break free from the opponent's lock was the flowing snake flash. After so many things, Ji-Dong's understanding of the flowing snake flash had gone up a level, and he had fully realized the role of the flowing snake flash in actual combat. Before coming here, no matter what kind of magical beast he dealt with, he tried to use the 6-layer killing curse as much as possible. It was not only to practice this skill, but also to combine his understanding of the flowing snake flash with actual combat. Without the coordination of the flowing snake flash, how could the 6-layer killing curse get close? The flowing snake flash was least afraid of single-target attacks. If you can't lock onto me, how can your single-target attack fall on me? When Ji-Dong's feet landed on the ground, Scorpion and Cold Rain had just reacted. They naturally did not want their ultimate skill to be in vain. After all, they were also Saint of Darkness. The two looked at each other and controlled their own ultimate skill to attack again. Hyoheim moved, and, at the same time, they locked in 2 directions. Ji-Dong smiled indifferently. The eyes under the devil yin-yang armor showed indifference several times. Seeing that the 2 ultimate skills were about to get close to him, he flashed out again. This time, Scorpion and Cold Rain's reaction speed was much faster. One maintained the original direction of attack to chase Ji-Dong, and the other person's ultimate skill directly circled the direction where Hyoheim was about to flash. At this time, he was controlling the ultimate skill, and he had exerted his control to the limit. However, their actions were still ineffective. In midair, Ji-Dong's body suddenly changed direction during the flashing process. The direction of his body's movement changed again. It was the flowing snake flash. When Soaring Snake taught Ji-Dong the flowing snake flash, he said that he had 2 special skills. One was the Soaring Snake Power Transformation Technique, and the other was the Flowing Snake Flash. All other attack skills were nothing compared to them. The Soaring Snake Power Transformation Technique could be said to be the ultimate defense ability, and the Flowing Snake Flash was a life-saving skill. When Soaring Snake used it himself, he could make his body flash 9 times in midair and change direction 9 times. In this way, who would be able to catch his figure? It was precisely these 2 ultimate skills that he could rely on to survive from ancient times to the present. What Ji-Dong could do now was to flash twice, which was the Flying Serpent Flash. Don't underestimate these 2 flashes. If he flashed once, it was still possible to track him, but if he flashed twice, it would be very difficult to track him. When Ji Dong's body turned in the air once again, he grasped the moment when the two ultimate skills were already extremely close to his body. Scorpion and Cold Rain both thought that their attacks were about to hit Ji Dong, so they used all their strength to accelerate. Light and shadow flashed, and Ji Dong's body had quietly disappeared. Behind him, a violent roar rose to the sky. The surging extreme E-Wood and extreme Gui water magic broke through the air. Under Ji Dong's momentum creation and the profound meaning of the flowing snake flash, the two ultimate skills of the Dark Saints finally collided. Muffled groans sounded at the same time. Although Scorpion and Cold Rain had already reacted at the moment of collision and tried their best to retract their power, but it was difficult to stop spilled water. The violent explosion was still inevitable. Chapter 167. Boom! The six-petal Jade Lotus versus the Black Tortoise's Extreme Strike, and the Extreme Second Wood versus the Extreme 10th Water. From the looks of it, the wood subdued the water, but from the demonic energy being released, it was clear that the Cold Rain was superior to the Scorpion. Even though they had tried their best to hold back their strength, the collision still caused their bodies to tremble violently. Muffled groans rang out, and the Scorpion, who had yet to recover his vital energy, spat out a mouthful of blood, and his face instantly turned pale. Without a head-on collision, he was able to toy with two holy disciples in the palm of his hand. In Scorpion's eyes, the current Ji Dong had become even more frightening. He was no longer a simple brute. There was no doubt that this kind of opponent was the one she was most unwilling to see. Ji Dong seemed to be completely unaffected by the huge wave of magic coming from behind him. The glaring extreme Yang fire made his Jun Mo Yin-Yang armor look even more gorgeous. His body instantly sped up. Taking advantage of the collision between Scorpion and Cold Rain, he had already rushed out of the encirclement of the two Dark Saints and entered the battlefield once again. Shui Ruhan was ranked 5th in the Yin-Yang Hall of the Heavenly STEM Academy. At this moment, she was facing the encirclement of two enemy magic masters above level 50. Although she could still suppress her opponents with her strength, it would not be easy for her to win in a short period of time. When Yi Dong first entered the Heavenly STEM Academy, Shui Ruhan was ranked 6th in the Yin-Yang Hall. However, after GEP was killed by Ji Dong, Shui Ruhan naturally rose to the 5th place. After Fury left, Shui Ruhan's ranking should have stopped rising again. However, in reality, including Yi Xian, no one really went to exchange for a token to raise their position in the Qiang Hall. There were many who were jealous of the Thunder Emperor, but most of them acknowledged him. Who could compare to the Thunder Emperor? As long as the Thunder Emperor was alive, no one dared to try for the position of the first seat of the Yin-Yang Hall. As Shui Ruhan continuously used her skills, her powerful magic continuously attacked the two opponents and forced them to retreat. Suddenly, she saw a golden-red figure quietly appear behind the two dark magicians. The magic power of the two dark magicians had also exceeded level 50. Although there was still a gap between their comprehensive quality and Shui Ruhan's, who came from the Yin-Yang Hall, they were also elites of the Darkness Continent. They were respectively a first wood magician and a third fire magician. They were using the characteristics of wood to generate fire to deal with Shui Ruhan. At this time, they were being suppressed more and more. They were ready to display their trump card in their daily cultivation, but at this moment, a blazing airflow came from behind them. When people encountered danger, they would subconsciously look in the direction of the danger. These two devil masters had just exchanged blows with Shui Ruhan, and they couldn't help but quickly turn back when they felt the heat from behind. In their eyes, a ferocious golden mask was instantly enlarged, and the blood-colored pupils were like the eyes of the devil, deeply imprinted in their minds. The demonic skill that was originally prepared to deal with Shui Ruhan was released almost without hesitation. The first wood magician quickly stepped behind the third fire magician and pressed his hands against the back of the third fire magician. Wood to fire, the third fire magician pushed out both hands at the same time. In a violent roar, a most direct third fire magician skill was released. The raging fire prairie and the area of at least more than 100 square meters was all shrouded in the monstrous fire. The flames were up to 3 meters high and instantly engulfed Ji-dong's body. The reaction of these two dark magicians was not slow. They also slightly noticed the situation of Ji-dong avoiding the two dark saints' single-target killing skills. So the third fire magician, with the support of the first wood magician, directly used the area killing skill. He did not want to kill Ji-dong with one blow, but just hoped to block his attack so that the two saints could catch up. However, when Scorpion and Cold Rain saw this scene, they couldn't help but roar in unison, "Idiot!" Yes, how stupid these two dark magicians were. Although they noticed Ji-dong's flying snake flash, they forgot that what Ji-dong released was the ultimate third fire magician. That was the strongest Yang fire. How could this raging fire prairie destroy it? "Thank you." Ji-dong's cold voice echoed in the air like an ancient demon god. A big golden hand quietly came out of the blazing flame. An irresistible force made the third fire magician, who was more than level 50, feel that his breathing was stagnant for a moment. The next moment, the big hand had already grabbed his neck. Just at the moment before he left this world forever, he saw the strangest scene in his life. That was clearly the sure kill skill he released, at least equivalent to a 6-crown fire magus area of effect killing skill. It was actually like all the waves converging at one point. A golden figure as tall as 3 meters quietly appeared there. All the flames were absorbed by him, and he himself was grabbed by the neck by this giant's right hand. Bright Sun Hunt, the skill of the Flame Monarch. Boom! A 5-meter-high golden pillar of fire exploded in the hands of the Flame Monarch, and the third fire magician ended his life forever. However, he was also the first person to see Ji-dong use the Fire Demon Devour skill at a close distance. Fire Demon Devour, the skill that Ji-dong had just comprehended after experiencing the heavy losses on the Holy Evil Island. It was not only the skill of the Flame Monarch or the Dark Flame Devil King, but a fusion skill of the two monarchs. Yes, this skill was not inherited from the two monarchs, but a brand new skill comprehended through the two monarch skills. It was the existence of the Taiji stage Yang fish. After the Jade of Heaven, Ji-dong's yin-yang fish changed again. The Flame of Chaos was greatly strengthened. He had some comprehension and created this skill. It was precisely by relying on the Fire Demon Devour that he instantly absorbed the huge fire elements of the prairie fire, so that he did not need to consume any of his own magic power to condense this Flame Monarch body. Fire Demon Devour could instantly absorb the external flames for his own use in a short period of time. Whether it was Yang Fire or Yin Fire, it was equally applicable. This was also the domineering part of this skill. If it was before, the prairie fire could not hurt Ji-dong at most, but now he relied on the Fire Demon Devour to absorb it and help him release the Flame Monarch body. Although Ji-dong could not use his own Flame of Chaos, this skill was undoubtedly a benefit brought about by the Flame of Chaos. The two great monarchs had truly fused after Ji-dong's ultimate skill, the Sun and Moon Yin-yang world. In addition, he had the Flame of Chaos. Although his current magic power was not very strong, in terms of attributes, he could already be called the Flame Monarch. It was precisely because of this that he could absorb and transform any flames. Although he was not proficient in the Fire Demon Devour skill, and could only temporarily use the magic power that was devoured, Ji-dong believed that in the near future, he would definitely be able to do it more perfectly. The two opponents suddenly became one. Feeling the terrifying and powerful aura of the Flame Monarch body, Shui Ruhan could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. However, as an elite of the Yin-yang school who was participating in the Battle of Saint Evil for the first time, how could he let go of such an opportunity? The slender, 10-meter-long ice spear quietly pierced out, the body following the spear. Just as Ji-dong's bright sun hunt erupted and the dazzling golden flames attracted everyone's attention, the ice spear in Shui Ruhan's hand had already pierced through the back of the Dark First Wood Demon Master, piercing through his heart and killing him in one shot. In response to Shui Ruhan's reaction, Ji-dong, who had transformed into the Flame Monarch body, gave her a thumbs up. Shui Ruhan smiled in response, and made the same gesture. There was no need for words to communicate at all. The two of them had already joined forces for a short period of time, and because of Ji Dong, another two Dark Demon Masters were directly or indirectly killed. The Dark Water Saint Hanyu and the Dark Second Wood Saint Scorpion, after the collision of their ultimate skills, once again gathered their magic power and chased after them. However, when they saw the strange scene that had just happened, they could not help but feel a chill in the depths of their hearts. Hanyu was filled with regret. He now understood why Scorpion respected this man so much. He had once said that he was a wax spearhead that looked good, but was useless. But now, it seemed that this man was like a king who had power over life and death. Even under the encirclement of the two saints, he could still kill people calmly. The feeling of powerlessness caused the momentum of the two of them to be greatly dampened. Ji Dong naturally would not guess what these two saints were thinking at this time. Before he joined the battlefield, the battle between the two sides was still balanced. The overall strength of the Dark Magicians was even slightly stronger than that of the Light Magicians, especially those saints who released their ultimate magic power. They had already caused a lot of casualties to the Heavenly Stem's army. At least two Enyang Hall disciples were needed to barely block one saint. There was no doubt that the Heavenly Stem saints had an advantage in terms of increasing their strength that ordinary magicians did not have. Today, 5 years later, the gap in strength between the two sides had already closed. Of course, this was under the situation where the light Heavenly Stem saints had not joined in. However, after Ji Dong joined the battle, Scorpion, who was originally used to resist him, was useless. With the addition of the Dark Water Saint Hanyu, the light magicians on the battlefield had already become much more relaxed. Ji Dong continued to attack, and already more than 10 dark magicians had fallen because of him. As time went by, the strength of both sides had already returned to a balance, and the light magicians were still faintly suppressing them. What terrified Hanyu and Scorpion the most was that after Ji Dong killed so many people, his magic power did not seem to be much depleted. Once the Flame Monarch body appeared, even the Dark Water Saint Hanyu, who was the water subduing fire, couldn't help but feel aghast. He did not dare to leave Scorpion and chase alone. At this moment, a loud and clear phoenix cry suddenly sounded from Ji Dong's body. A glaring golden light shone, and another pair of wings spread out brazenly. With a glaring golden flame, the Eclipse Phoenix rose from the vermilion bird bracelet on Ji Dong's right wrist. Its body was not big, but with the ultimate Yang fire magic, it appeared no different from the vermilion bird. Although its magic power was far inferior to the vermilion bird's, the ultimate Yang fire aura instantly rose, causing Hanyu and Scorpion to involuntarily stop in their tracks. Scorpion couldn't help but say, "How can this be? He has a magical beast companion. Could this be the vermilion bird?" Fire and Ji Dong's minds were connected. Ji Dong pointed with his right hand, and fire had already soared into the sky. The entire sky became bright because of its existence. The brilliant golden flame turned into a dense golden light in the sky, like a golden meteor shooting towards the basin. Of course, Ji Dong's actions were reasonable, because on the other battlefield, the 8 light saints surrounding the Thistle Lightning Fire Dragon were already in big trouble. Although Ji Dong was fighting nonstop, his powerful mental strength enveloped the entire battlefield. With the chaotic flames and the enhancement of his mental strength after releasing his ultimate move, he could clearly grasp every change on the battlefield. Otherwise, he would not have appeared where he needed to be the most. For example, although Shui Ruhan's 2 opponents were strong, they could only entangle the 5th seat of the Enyang Hall and free him, which had a huge impact on the battle. On the other side, he was also paying attention to the other 2 battlefields. In midair, although the battle between the Thunder Emperor Fury and the final weapon, Li Yonghao, had entered a white-hot stage, the difference in strength between the 2 sides was too small, and the victor could not be determined for a while. However, on the other side, the light Heavenly Stem saints could not hold on any longer. Ji Dong could ignore the others, and he was extremely annoyed by their method of coming to reap the fruits of victory. However, Yao Qianshu had helped him before. Without Yao Qianshu, he would not have been able to learn the yin-yang fire formation. He still had to return the favor. The Eight Light Saints were just as Ji Dong had thought. They had come here to take advantage of the situation, to be able to become a light disciple. Not only did they possess extreme demonic power, but they were also extremely intelligent. Although they were not united and thought highly of themselves, they did have a certain level of ability. They had been hiding on the sidelines for a period of time. After careful consideration and discussion, they had chosen this time to take action. They had grasped the fact that the Thunder Emperor could not compete with them, because if they took action, they would definitely stir up the entire situation and turn the confrontation between the two sides into a real battle. As long as they could kill the Thistle Lightning Fire Dragon before the battle between the light and darkness sides ended, they would naturally benefit. Of course, they did not completely forget that they were light camp saints. However, their thoughts were obviously to obtain the benefits first before dealing with the darkness camp. It was also because of this selfishness that Ji Dong had completely drawn a line between them in his heart. However, when they really started fighting, they finally understood how terrifying the Thistle Lightning Fire Dragon was, and why Fury did not take action and only stood in a stalemate. How terrifying was a peak level 9 magical beast. With a terrifying body that was 60 meters tall, it could really shake the earth and mountains with a single movement. What made the Eight Light Saints the most helpless was that the attribute suppression that should have been produced by their extreme demonic power was actually useless against the huge Thistle Lightning Fire Dragon. They could not suppress it at all. Although there were 8 of them, without the yin-yang fire, the 5 elements were incomplete, and they could not use the 5-element suppression. Chapter 168. Because the Eight Light Saints lacked the ultimate dual fire, they were unable to complete the 5 elements symbiotic and subduing. Thus, the battle became relatively independent. Although they would occasionally use exquisite combination skills and powerful killing moves, the power of their magic attacks was unable to cause irreparable damage to the thorny Thunderfire Dragon. It only served to further enrage the mutant Tyrannosaurus. Every spike on the thorny Thunderfire Dragon's body was its weapon of attack. Don't think that would be very clumsy just because it was huge. It was true that it wasn't fast, but that didn't mean that it had flaws. Those thick spikes constantly spewed out thousands of bolts of lightning, covering the entire area. At the beginning of the battle, the 8 radiant heavenly stem saints were still able to temporarily suppress it with their ultimate skills. But when their mana began to weaken and the connection of their ultimate skills became problematic, the thorny Thunderfire Dragon, which was riddled with scars but not injured at its core, began to erupt with terrifying power. Every time it was released, thousands of lightning bolts would scatter in all directions. This was one of its special skills, 1,000 Lightning Strikes. 1,000 Lightning Strikes was just an ordinary killing move, and its attack was very scattered. The 8 Light Saints, who had the highest magic power over level 60, were not afraid of such an attack. It was difficult for the 1,000 Lightning Strikes to hurt them, but they couldn't withstand the almost non-stop 1,000 Lightning Strikes. No one knew how much magic this thorny Thunderfire Dragon had. The thousands of lightning bolts had never stopped since they appeared. Dazzling bolts of lightning constantly streaked across the sky. In a situation where they couldn't avoid it, the 8 Light Saints could only block it. In their eyes, the thorny Thunderfire Dragon was like a big hedgehog that they couldn't get close to. Moreover, their magic power was quickly being consumed. Although Yao Qianshu's mana recovery pills were good, they still needed time to recover. Their recovery speed was obviously not as fast as their consumption speed, so it didn't take long before they were already at their wits' end. This was the flaw of not having all 5 elements. Yao Qianshu was cursing his companions in his heart, but it was too late for them to retreat now. The Thistle Lightning Fire Dragon kept sending out 1,000 lightning strikes, toying with them like a cat playing with a mouse. At the same time, it kept sucking air into the air. In its mouth, a huge purplish-blue ball of lightning with a diameter of at least 3 meters was gradually forming. No one knew how powerful that attack was, and no one knew who it would hit if they suddenly retreated. Humans were selfish. Even if there was a 1% chance, they would not be willing to try it easily. At this moment, the hearts of the 8 heavenly stem holy disciples were filled with different kinds of regret. They could not wait for the battle between the Thunder Emperor and the final weapon to end as soon as possible so that they could assist the opponent. Each of them used the 5 elements condensation formation to gather demonic energy to resist the 1,000 lightning strikes. At the same time, they had to constantly pay attention to the terrifying changes in demonic energy in the Thistle Lightning Fire Dragon's mouth. At this moment, a golden red flame streaked across the sky with a resounding phoenix cry. In the blink of an eye, it had already arrived 100 meters above the Thistle Lightning Fire Dragon's head. The sharp phoenix cry rang out continuously, and a strange scene appeared. 2 circular formations appeared in the sky at the same time. One was gold, and the other was black. Intense demonic energy instantly blocked the sky, causing the entire sky to turn gold and black. Fire spread its wings. One side was black, while the other side was gold. Intense yin-yang fire burst out, and demonic energy bloomed, making its body look extremely huge. The body formed by the flames was more than 10 meters long, and its wingspan was more than 15 meters. The massive dual-fire demonic energy instantly covered the dark clouds in the sky, completely blocking the aura of the myriad lightning calamity realm from the dark clouds. The holy disciples were not fools. When they saw the Yang fire formation and Yin fire formation appear, everyone's eyes were filled with intense surprise. The 8 of them roared at almost the same time, and the 8 types of ultimate mana formed a huge 5 elements formation behind them. The 10 elements had finally gathered at this moment. After fire evolved, its mana had already reached the 5th tier. It was the descendant of the heavenly stem mythological beast, the phoenix, and it also possessed the same ultimate yin-yang fire as Jidong. Among magical beasts, its strength was equivalent to Jidong's. Among magic masters, it was at least equivalent to a peak existence of the 6th tier. With its addition, the 10 elements of mana had finally gathered, and the Yang 5 elements and Yin 5 elements were formed at the same time. At this moment, even the battle between the Thunder Emperor Fury and the ultimate weapon, Li Yonghao, could not help but pause. The Thistle Lightning Fire Dragon had already become the center of attention. Clear, dark green, red, blue, yellow, gray, white, gold, black, purple, all kinds of colors shone with dazzling radiance, constantly changing. Even if it was the gathering of the 10 ordinary elements, it would produce a strong suppression of the 5 elements, let alone this ultimate mana. If an ordinary magic master gathered all 10 elements, it would be extremely difficult to fuse the 5 elements, yin-yang and yin-yang. However, to the heavenly stem saints, this was naturally nothing. The condensation formations released by each of them could already fuse with each other. The 5 elements formations were of the same origin, and the process of fusing the 10 elements was completed in an instant. The lack of fire in the 5 elements made them unable to display their comprehensive strength. Now that they had fire, every holy disciple of the heavenly stem saints seemed to have been rejuvenated. Intense mana fluctuated in the air, and a dazzling radiance bloomed in an instant. The colorful radiance instantly formed a huge light shield in the air, and when the Thistle Lightning Fire Dragon's 1,000 lightning strikes came into contact with a light shield, it did not even cause a ripple. This was the pure suppression of the 5 elements' origin. The powerful aura of the 5 elements made even Fury and Li Yonghao feel a strong sense of fear. The 10 condensation formations slowly spread out and floated in the air. Wood gave birth to fire, fire gave birth to earth, earth gave birth to metal, metal gave birth to water, and water gave birth to wood. The 5 elements generated each other, and they rotated to the extreme while yin and yang coexisted. At this moment, the aura released by the huge multicolored light shield was like a super killing technique. From the ground to the sky, it had already been completely filled with this brilliance. Even the myriad lightning calamity realm in the sky could not pass through it to the ground. Fire and Jidong were one, so the yin-yang fire condensation formation that she used was equivalent to Jidong's. When she learned this formation, she was already destined to never leave Ji Dong's side. If Ji Dong died one day, then she would also lose the ability to use the formation. At this moment, when she replaced Ji Dong and the 8 heavenly stems saints to release mana, it was equivalent to the 10 saints of light joining forces. The multicolored light shield that they used was called the 5 elements yin-yang world. The thistle lightning fire dragon panicked. Being in the center of the 5 elements yin-yang world, it felt an unparalleled and terrifying pressure from heaven and earth. It instantly accelerated as if it had gone mad, and its terrifying body that was over 60 meters tall suddenly crashed forward. However, what greeted it was the yin and yang fusion of the 5 elements. In the midst of a loud bang, a circle of multicolored ripples bloomed, but the thistle lightning fire dragon's huge body was actually rebounded and fell heavily on the ground. At least a dozen spikes on its body instantly bent. Even for the Saints of Light, it was the first time they had seen such a powerful force after the 5 elements yin and yang fusion. Everyone was filled with shock. They had all seen Ji Dong's strong performance on the other side of the battlefield, especially his terrifying sovereign body of flames, which made the holy disciple, Ao Zheng, and the others feel ashamed. When they saw Ji Dong release the corrosive fire phoenix to help, they finally understood why Yao Qianshu admired Ji Dong so much. Unfortunately, other than shame, what they felt was not admiration or regret, but a deeper sense of jealousy. Apart from Yao Qianshu, almost everyone had the same thought in their minds. Why did he have such great strength when he was only a teenager? Did they really have to listen to his orders in the future and let him command them? The yin-yang boundary of the 5 elements yin and yang began to shrink. The 8 saints of light released their magic without holding back. The oppressive aura of the ultimate 5 elements magic was so oppressive that even the peak of the rank 9 thorny lightning fire dragon could not do anything about it. Seeing the yin-yang boundary of the 5 elements yin and yang shrinking, the thorny lightning fire dragon's range of movement was greatly reduced. At this time, the condensed thunderball in its mouth finally spat out, but a strange scene appeared. As the yin-yang boundary of the 5 elements yin and yang shrank, the thunderball rapidly shrunk after leaving the thorny lightning fire dragon's mouth. When it really hit the 5 elements yin and yang boundary of the 5 elements yin and yang, it was only 1/3 of its original size. This thunderball still only caused a ripple in the 5 elements yin and yang boundary of the 5 elements yin and yang. What kind of power was this? In the yin-yang boundary of the 5 elements, magic of any attribute, even if it was a variant attribute, could not display its true power. The thunderball spat out by the thorny lightning fire dragon was definitely one of its strongest skills, but it still could not affect the yin-yang boundary of the 5 elements. There was no doubt that this huge light barrier was really a terrifying ability of the level of a sure kill skill. Although it was not a true perfect 5 elements fusion skill, it was enough to deal with this rank 9 mutated magical beast. The 5 elements were all-encompassing, and the origin of thunder was fire. It was also within the 5 elements, so how could the thorny lightning fire dragon's magic have any effect? Facing the crisis of death, the thorny lightning fire dragon crazily dashed left and right in the yin-yang boundary of the 5 elements yin and yang. Its huge body continuously burst out layers of powerful magic. Unfortunately, no matter how hard it tried, it still could not rush out of the yin-yang boundary of the 5 elements yin and yang. It could only watch as its body was gradually bound and compressed. Scorpion and Hanyu looked at each other. Was this the power of the 5 elements formation? They unanimously thought, if they were trapped in it, what would the result be? The situation on the thorny lightning fire dragon's side attracted everyone's attention, except for one person, and that was Ji Dong. Although he was slightly stunned when he saw the yin-yang boundary of the 5 elements, he quickly reacted. As one of the devil masters who had the 5 elements formation, Ji Dong's feelings were naturally more profound than Scorpion and Hanyu. The moment the yin-yang boundary of the 5 elements appeared, he had already understood in his heart. He suddenly understood that the five elements formation might not only have its own characteristics, but if each formation was combined, it might be equivalent to a skill. The five elements formation could transform into the yin-yang boundary of the five elements to seal and suppress the opponent. Then, what about the soaring five elements formation? What about the continuous five elements formation? What kind of effect would it have? These thoughts flashed through Ji Dong's mind. Although he was very interested in this and knew that his guess was definitely correct, he also knew that it would be difficult to conduct research in this area. Although the last time he came into contact with them was not long, he had already seen the true nature of these light saints. He could not stand working with these people. No matter how powerful the yin-yang fusion technique of the five elements was, Ji Dong would not let himself become partners with such people. Who knew if they would stab him in the back one day? The Flame Sovereign King quietly stepped forward. With one step, it was already dozens of meters away. When Scorpion and Hanyu reacted, there were already two more Dark Devil Masters held in the air by the neck by the Flame Sovereign King. Two dazzling flames accompanied by hot air burst out with a loud bang, like two small suns in Ji Dong's hands. It was also these two rays of light that reminded everyone present that they were still in a battle of life and death. Ji Dong chose two four-crowned Devil Masters. Bright Sun Hunt swept past, relying on the Flame Sovereign body, not giving the opponent a chance to fight back at all. Every time a Dark Devil Master was lost, the overall strength of the opponent would decrease a little. The tyranny of the extreme Yang fire was completely released, and this attack also reignited the whole battlefield. Coincidentally, the Light and Dark Devil Masters released their magic power at the same time, and the chaotic battle began again. Scorpion, I'll help you. You must keep him here. Hanyu already hated Ji Dong to the point that he couldn't control himself. His figure flashed, and he was already behind Scorpion. At the same time, he pressed his hands on Scorpion's shoulders, and the ultimate water magic power with a crystal purple light surged into Scorpion's body like a spring. The magic power of the two great dark saints instantly merged into one. As a heavenly stem saint, Hanyu was actually unwilling to cooperate with Scorpion. Although their cultivation was not weak, in terms of special attribute combination skills, there was still a big gap. Only by using this kind of direct magic power combination, using the five elements to generate each other, could their strength be multiplied exponentially. Just like when Ji Dong destroyed the Tungsten Demon Vulture King with the help of Scorpion. But as heavenly stem saints, they were also unwilling to fight in this way, because it was tantamount to entrusting their own fate to the other party, especially as the side supporting with magic power. Just like the two Dark Devil Masters that Shui Ruhan faced before, after completing the magic combination, the attacker was destroyed by Ji Dong, and the Wood Devil Master, who was the output of magic power, directly perished in Shui Ruhan's hands. But at this moment, in the face of such a strong Ji Dong, they had no other choice. Only in this way could there be a possibility of stopping Ji Dong. Chapter 169. Extreme magic power was indeed extreme magic power. When the Scorpion and the Cold Rain combined, the two extreme magic powers erupted at the same time. Water and wood, extreme, it would instantly release a huge breath of life that made everyone raise their eyebrows. Although the yin-yang world of five elements on the other side was too powerful, the breath of life that rose from the Scorpion was still clear. The surface of Scorpion's skin was covered with a layer of milky white luster, and her whole body looked like a white jade sculpture. The black yin-yang crown on her head had completely turned milky white, and even the brand of the five crowns could not be seen. Indeed, under the full support of Cold Rain of the same level, she was now not as simple as level 58. Extreme Ewood, Life Bloom. Scorpion raised her hands, and a white jade lotus quietly bloomed. Instead of attacking Ji Dong, it directly fell on the ground in front of her. The milky white halo suddenly spread out, turning into the purest white light. In the blink of an eye, it had covered the whole area of the mountainside. A strange scene appeared. Within the area covered by the white light, all the plants on a mountainside were covered with a layer of milky white luster. Others did not feel it too obvious, but Ji Dong, who had just killed 2 dark magicians, suddenly looked back. He clearly felt that Scorpion's mind was rapidly expanding. Within the area covered by the white light, her mind existed. As long as his body moved slightly, that huge breath of life could be clearly locked on. In the case of sufficient magic, Scorpion used the stupidest, most mana-consuming, but also the most effective way to lock on Ji Dong. In other words, as long as Ji Dong was within the area of the white light she had released before, no matter how he changed his body shape, he could not escape from her detection. The effect of Flying Snake Flash was suddenly greatly weakened. At the same time, Ji Dong could clearly feel that Scorpion's extreme Ewood magic had increased exponentially. The huge life force was like a viscous liquid chasing his body. Although his extreme flame had a good restraining effect on extreme Ewood, the breath released by Scorpion at this time was too strong. Therefore, under the cover of this breath of life, Ji Dong's speed was still limited to a certain extent. Originally, Scorpion was wearing dark green armor, revealing a large amount of white skin on her body, especially her slender and round thighs, which were even more attractive. However, at this time, after her body was covered by this layer of milky white light, it was full of sacred aura. Although the white light was surrounded by the unique black light patterns of the dark 5 elements continent, it did not affect this. From an attractive hot girl to an inviolable saintess full of sacred aura, the change in temperament had already shown Scorpion's power at this time. What surprised Ji Dong even more was that Scorpion seemed to have become the master of all the plants within the area of the white light. In addition to controlling the huge breath of life to cover the surroundings, there was even more breath of life directly injected into her body, frantically replenishing the life energy in her body. This life energy could not help Scorpion recover, but it was enough to be used as fuel for life ignition. Turning around, the 3-meter-tall flame tyrant faced the dark Ewood Saints. Ji Dong did not attack other enemies, but stared in Scorpion's direction with a burning gaze. The attribute combination of the 2 dark saints made it impossible for him to do anything else. Scorpion's next attack was no longer something he could dodge with Flying Snake Flash at this stage. He could only face it head-on. At this moment, suddenly, a wave of life energy filled with a masculine aura surged from behind. As this life energy was not hostile, by the time Ji Dong reacted, it had already enveloped his body. Instantly, the ultimate dual fire on his body seemed to have been ignited, and surging golden flames instantly rose a few meters. "It's you?" When he turned around, Ji Dong discovered that there was already another person behind him. This person looked to be in his 30s, had a medium build, and looked very ordinary. However, there was a 6-crown sun crown on his head and abdomen, 6 crowns and a half stars, a level 61 Firstwood Saint. He was riding a green giant lizard. From head to tail, the giant lizard was over 8 meters long. Its entire body was covered with ferocious scales, and its head was especially huge. It was clearly a type of earth dragon, a level 6 magical beast, clearwood dragon lizard. Ji Dong knew this person. In the Yin-Yang Hall, his ranking was even higher than Shui Ruhan's. The first time Ji Dong saw a combination skill after coming to this world was the water and with dual healing magic skill that he and Shui Ruhan used. It was Long Tian, who is currently ranked 4th in the Yin-Yang Hall. Long Tian wore a green armor and held a long saber in his right hand. A green light filled with a masculine aura of life was constantly being released from him and a clearwood dragon lizard directly pouring into Ji Dong's body. In terms of magic power, his Firstwood magic power could not be compared to the Dark Saint's ultimate magic power. However, in terms of experience, as one of the top 5 experts in the Yin-Yang Hall, his control of magic power and familiarity with attributes was not something that Scorpion and Cold Rain could compare to. With the help of him and his mount, Ji Dong actually felt as if he was enduring the amplification of Yao Qianshu, and the power of the 3rd Wu Prime, Yang's sacred fire, increased dramatically. Ji Dong, remember, you are not fighting alone. Long Tian's words were very brief, but they were sonorous and powerful. Although his help to Jidong's magic power could not be transmitted directly through physical contact like cold rain, with his six-crown Heaven Warrior cultivation base that had broken through the bottleneck, as well as the first wood magic power of the Clearwood Dragon Lizard, the amplification effect was not weak at all. The reason why Long Tian could not touch Jidong's body to help him amplify his strength was very simple. One was that he had to control the Clearwood Dragon Lizard, and the other was the most important. The ultimate Yang fire burning on the Flame Monarch body was not something he could approach. In addition to Senior Brother and Lon Bauer, this was Jidong's first reinforcement on the battlefield, his first comrade. The appearance of Long Tian was not only a help in strength for Jidong, but he also made Jidong feel that he was no longer alone. When Jidong looked back again, facing Scorpion, whose ultimate wood magic power had been raised to a terrifying level, Scorpion was surprised to find that the cold red eyes behind Jidong's mask had changed, like two groups of blood flames burning. A strong fighting spirit accompanied by extreme pride and overbearingness gushed out. Water begets wood, wood begets fire. In the next moment, the Flame Monarch Golden Flame burst out and appeared in front of Scorpion. In the face of Jidong's proud and domineering figure, Scorpion was not afraid. She raised her right hand and raised her hand in the simplest way to meet Hyoheim's move. Her palm completely showed a milky white luster, and when she pushed her palm out, there was a faint white lotus in the palm, light as if it was not affected by any force. However, as soon as her palm shot out, it had already arrived in front of Jidong, and the distance between the two seemed to have shortened an instant. In the face of that slender jade palm, the 3-meter-tall Flame Monarch body, Jidong's expression looked unprecedentedly dignified. No one in the outside world could feel the changes in the magic power emitted by Scorpion. Only Jidong could feel how great the pressure was. After obtaining the magic fusion of the Darkwater Saint, Cold Rain, Scorpion's ultimate wood magic was full of a kind of vigorous vitality that connected the sky and the earth, and this vitality was full of a soft feeling like thousands of layers but extremely tough. Why did Jidong attack without accumulating power? Because at the same time as Long Tian's first wood magic was transmitted to him, the thousands of layers of ultimate magic had squeezed his body instantly, like an invisible cover. The combination of magic was definitely greater than 1 + 1. As a Darkwood Saint, Scorpion was extremely smart. She chose the safest and most direct way to launch an attack on Hyoheim. That was magic suppression. In the face of this situation, how could Jidong let her succeed? Therefore, he chose to attack as soon as Scorpion launched her attack. Facing Scorpion's jade-like palm, Jidong also raised his right hand. The huge palm of the Flame Monarch directly clashed with Scorpion's palm. Gold and white, two kinds of extreme brilliance burst out in an instant. This was the most direct competition of strength. Scorpion relied on the fusion of magic of the two great saints, water and wood, while Jidong relied on the buff of wood to fire, the double radiance of sun and moon gloves and demon Lord Yin-Yang armor. The two palms collided, and the outcome was immediately determined. There was no violent roar. A circle of huge magic that made the magicians on both sides pause for a moment spread instantly. Countless golden light spots scattered in the air. The golden red figure instantly retreated, and the body spun several times in midair before falling to the ground. Scorpion still stood in her original position. The ultimate Yang fire magic did not have any erosive effect on her at all. Jidong was also shocked by her palm, and even the Flame Monarch body was broken by her palm. The magic that was previously absorbed and temporarily condensed by the raging fire collapsed. The power of the ultimate magic combination was too strong. Jidong, with the help of Long Tian's first wood magic, could not block that palm, and the Flame Monarch body was also destroyed, turning into a little golden light. The vermilion bird's wings spread out, and Jidong's body turned in the air. His figure spread again, and he rushed towards Scorpion for the second time. To his surprise, Long Tian was worthy of being the top 5 of the Yin-Yang school. Although his body was shaken and changed direction in the air, the magic support from Long Tian never broke. In the air, gold turned black, and the ultimate Yang fire instantly turned into the ultimate Yin fire. In the air, the Yin fire soaring array quietly appeared, and Ji Dong's speed soared. In the blink of an eye, he had already arrived in front of Scorpion. A dark crescent moon appeared coldly, and Ji Dong's face showed a trace of cold light. No one could see what skill he was going to use. This time, he no longer had the support of the monarch transformation. Scorpion snorted coldly. Previously, she had repelled Ji Dong with a palm, and it made her feel great. She thought in her heart, "Barbarian, you also have this day." Seeing that Ji Dong was flying towards her again, she couldn't help but shout, "This time, you will stay." Similarly, she raised her right hand, and a more intense white light burst out. Her right hand formed the shape of a claw, and she grabbed the air in the direction of Ji Dong. However, at this moment, just as Ji Dong was about to get close to her, Ji Dong's body suddenly shook. Although Scorpion used the huge Ewood magic to lock the range, at this moment, she was still in a trance when she sensed Ji Dong's position. And at this moment, it was as if Ji Dong's body suddenly froze in the air. Infinite darkness instantly bloomed from the condensed darkness behind him. It was also at this moment that a pitch-black flying serpent suddenly rushed out from the black Yin crown on Ji Dong's head. Seeing this flying serpent transform from the ultimate Yin fire, Scorpion couldn't help but be shocked, because she couldn't help but recall the ultimate skill that Ji Dong had released when he killed the Platinum Celestial Rock. It seemed to have started from the release of the 4 dragons and 4 snakes. Humans would subconsciously protect themselves, and Scorpion was no exception. In the face of the sudden change, she reacted immediately. The claws that were originally grabbing Hyoheim instantly retracted, and with a soft poof, under the effect of the huge Ewood magic, the pitch-black flying serpent immediately turned into countless black lights and scattered in the air. At this moment, the Yin fire soaring matrix behind Ji Dong had already quietly transformed into the Yin fire condensation matrix. When the black flying serpent burst out from the Yin crown, his right hand was already raised into the air, and the black moon behind him resonated with the sky. Magic burst out, and the clouds dispersed. In the sky, a black moon also fell from the sky, and the two merged into one. Because of the obstruction of the flying serpent, when Scorpion saw this scene, it was already the moment when the shattered wax serpent once again turned into ultimate Yin fire and gathered towards the Yin fire condensation matrix behind Ji Dong. She was so familiar with the scene in front of her. Back then, her life combustion skill had been frozen and corroded by the attack that Ji Dong was about to release at this moment. At this moment, even with the support of the Darkwater Saint, Cold Rain, she didn't have time to release any skills. She clenched her right hand into a fist and punched out, releasing almost all of her Ewood magic without holding back. This punch made her look like a pure white jade lotus. In order to resist this blow from Ji Dong, she had already used all of her strength. Although it wasn't a skill, the attack of this punch was not inferior to the ultimate skill. The cold black flame came close to the ground, and the cold and deep breath gave people a feeling of trembling. Scorpion didn't dare to attack Ji Dong, and her punch could only hit the ground. She was afraid that after she was fixed by the terrifying magic, Ji Dong would once again release the ultimate skill of Yin and Yang dual fire fusion that couldn't be dodged. Boom! In a violent roar, the soft Ewood magic had a terrifying explosive effect. The mountainside shook violently. Fortunately, there was no snow on the mountain peak here, but even so, the whole mountain was still trembling and roaring. On the mountain wall, a large hole with a diameter of 10 meters appeared, accompanied by a milky white brilliance that spread 100 meters. The power of this punch was comparable to that of the two powerhouses fighting in the air. The cold black flame almost didn't even have the power to struggle in the milky white brilliance, and had quietly collapsed. However, Scorpion's heart had sunk to the bottom. She found that she had been fooled. The cold black flame that came close to the ground was not at the level of the ultimate skill at all. Chapter 170. When Scorpion smashed the black flames issued by Ji-dong with a punch, the outcome of this battle was already determined. Yes, from the beginning of the battle, Ji-dong had been creating all kinds of situations, including his first blow being blown away by Scorpion. That was indeed a comparison of strength between the two at that time, but with Ji-dong's current strength, there was no need for such a direct collision of magic power. The reason why he did that was to confuse the opponent and let Scorpion feel that her strength was completely above her own. He changed his figure in the air and accelerated with the fire soaring array in order to not give Scorpion too much time to think. He used the Dark Moon dance to make Scorpion's omnidirectional locking instantly ineffective. He only had time to store one flying serpent magic power in the yin and yang crown to further confuse and intimidate the opponent. Next, from the surface, it looked like the release of Forbidden, 100, 1000, and Ghostly Flame Ice, which was also the starting move of the super ultimate skill Sun and Moon Yin and Yang world. All of this, there was only one purpose: to induce Scorpion to think that he was going to use the super ultimate skill to deal with her. The two saints joined forces, the combination of water and wood magic power. It must be known that whether it was Scorpion or Cold Rain, their magic power was above Ji-dong. Even if Ji-dong had dual attributes of yin and yang, he was only one person after all, and his magic power was only level 49. If they really collided, how could he defeat two saints at the same time? Although Long Tian's assistance was helpful to him, Long Tian was not the ultimate first wood demon after all. The ordinary first wood magic power was limited to Ji-dong's ultimate dual flames. Therefore, when Scorpion released a wide range of first wood magic to lock him, Ji-dong had already outlined his mind a way that he might defeat the opponent. When Ji-dong accidentally released the super ultimate skill Sun and Moon Yin and Yang world, only Scorpion was there to see the whole process. She had also personally experienced the power of Ghostly Flame Ice. In addition, she called Ji-dong a barbarian. In her impression, Ji-dong was a reckless and domineering person. Therefore, just as Ji-dong judged, she was fooled. The black moon behind Ji-dong and the dark moon in the sky echoed each other. That was just a way to lure Scorpion. The black flame he emitted was not forbidden, 100, 1000, or ghostly flame ice at all, but the dark flame demon's unique skill, Dark Moon Flame. From the appearance, the Dark Moon Flame and the ghostly flame ice were almost exactly the same, but the aura was completely different. However, with the magic fluctuations generated by the previous energy snake explosion, it was difficult for Scorpion to judge. After she punched out, it was too late to realize it. How could an all-out attack be withdrawn so easily? The huge firstwood life energy spread on the ground. In a violent roar, it seemed that the firstwood magic power had the overall upper hand, but at this time, a trace of coldness had quietly fallen on her body. When Scorpion just got up and wanted to react, the cold and gloomy black flame had fallen on her chest armor. What made Scorpion a little strange was that the cold black flame did not feel very strong. The surging vitality in her body almost completely blocked it. Her body was just a little stiff, and she could only move for a moment. However, in the next moment, she couldn't help but widen her eyes, and the fear from the bottom of her heart rose in an instant, because she clearly saw that the man in front of her, who was clearly full of deep black, suddenly turned into the extremely overbearing Flame King. In a loud bang, the blazing Bingwu primordial yang sacred fire had fallen on her before she could recover her ability to move. The two flames of extreme cold and extreme heat, which belonged to yin and yang, suddenly erupted, and the terrifying magic fluctuations gave people the feeling of destruction. Scorpion fell into the trap, and the time was enough for Ji-dong to release a sure-kill attack. If he used the brilliant Sun All, it would be enough to cause damage to Scorpion, but he did not do so. This was the change of actual combat experience. If it was in the past, Ji-dong might choose that way, but after continuous actual combat on the Holy Evil battlefield this time, he understood the importance of preserving his own magic power as much as possible under any circumstances. Therefore, after a series of plans to lure Scorpion into the trap, What fell on Scorpion next was not a sure kill skill, but a self-created skill of Ji-dong. Its power was not inferior to a sure kill skill, and it had to be cast at close range. When the first Dark Moon Claw fell on Scorpion, Ji-dong was also shocked. The 1-second delay effect of the Dark Moon Claw was weakened by half under the influence of Scorpion's huge immu vitality. Fortunately, Ji-dong's ultimate dual fire had made a qualitative leap. Before Scorpion could catch her breath, the Scorpion Devour had already been released. What happened next was no suspense. The Dark Moon Claw and the Scorpion Triple Strike, the effect of the combination of 6 skills and 5 strikes, was fully released. Only those who had really experienced it could understand how terrifying the effect of the 5-fold yin-yang dual fire combination skill was. What Scorpion felt at this time was not pain. She only felt that her body was half-baked in magma, hot and cold, and she could not move at all. Even if Cold Rain, the dark water saint behind her, desperately injected magic power into her body, it was of no use. The best way to deal with the 6-fold killing curse was to not let Ji-dong get close at all. Once he got close, the effect of this close-range combination skill would even surpass the sure kill skill. When the last blow of the Scorpion Devour exploded, both Scorpion and Cold Rain flew up at the same time, and their bodies were completely shrouded in flames. Ultimate magic power was ultimate magic power after all. Scorpion's huge vitality saved her life. The blood in her body seemed to have dried up under the bombardment of the 6-fold killing curse. If she was alone, even if Ji-dong's blow could not kill her, she would definitely be seriously injured. Fortunately, there was still ultimate water. Water restrained fire, and Cold Rain could not help Scorpion break free from Ji-dong's attack. But his ultimate water, Saint Magic Power, resisted the effect of the ultimate dual fire combination skill as much as possible. When their bodies were blasted into the air, Scorpion was able to regain consciousness. But even so, the 6-fold killing curse still made their magic power unable to merge. Scorpion had not yet used the life burn skill, but the magic power in her body had been burned by the 6-fold killing curse. Although the huge vitality brought by ultimate would saved her life, the consumption was huge. The range locking she released had completely disappeared. What's more, the crisis she and Cold Rain faced had not yet passed. The ferocious golden mask appeared in Scorpion's sight again, and the meaning from the bottom of her heart made Scorpion's body tremble a little. This seemingly extremely barbaric man had created more than once miracles that she thought were impossible to accomplish. The two great saints joined forces, but the final outcome was still defeat, and they were likely to lose their lives. A kind of fear rose from the bottom of Scorpion's heart. Of course, she did not want to die, but now her fate was completely out of her control. The vermilion bird's wings spread behind him. When the first blow was mostly weakened by the huge vitality in Scorpion's body, Ji-dong knew that his 6-fold killing curse was not enough to kill the opponent because the opponent's magic power was too strong. Therefore, he had already soared up when Scorpion and Cold Rain were blasted away. In the air, Ji-dong took a deep breath. Because of casting the 6-fold killing curse, some of the magic power that could not be connected was instantly restored. The glaring golden sun lit up behind him. Of course, he would not give the two enemies in front of him who were enough to threaten his life any chance. The glaring golden-red flames dyed his whole body. This time, it was no longer deception. With the condensation of the dazzling golden flames and the sun-fire condensation array, the Flame Monarch's ultimate skill broke out instantly. Forbidden 100,000 brilliant sun cone. Only such a blow could destroy Scorpion and Cold Rain, who had not yet recovered, at the same time. Consuming a little magic power in exchange for the lives of the two Dark Saints was undoubtedly an extremely cost-effective deal. Be careful. Cold Rain's sissy voice was so ear-piercing. But what could Scorpion do now? Although she was not seriously injured because of the previous combination of magic power, all the remaining magic power in her body could do now was to disperse the remaining extreme dual fire magic power in her body as much as possible. Ji-dong seized this opportunity. On the battlefield, opportunities were often fleeting, But as long as the opportunity was seized, it meant the end of the battle. The broken armor on Scorpion's body had been completely shattered under the bombardment of the sixfold killing curse, revealing the undergarments and wisps of spring. At this time, she, who was originally a powerfully moved saint, was like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered and could only wait for the arrival of the god of death. Just as Scorpion's eyes revealed a look of despair, her shoulders tightened. Then, she felt a figure replace her original position, blocking in front of her in the air. That figure was definitely not tall, let alone sturdy. But at this time, he appeared in front of the Flame Monarch's ultimate skill, Brilliant Sun, all with indomitable will. Brilliant Sun Cone was extremely powerful. Back then, when Jidong was only level 30, he killed a level 58 Earth Element mage who went all out in defense. Now, his strength was already level 49, and with the enhancement of the Sun Fire Condensation Array, the double radiance of Sun and Moon gloves, and the Demon Lord Yin-Yang armor, this tyrannical ultimate skill caused Scorpion to suffer a big loss when he first fought with Scorpion, thus establishing the victory. The person who blocked in front of Scorpion was none other than the Darkwater Saint, Cold Rain. Although Cold Rain was also affected by the sixfold killing curse, because his magic was connected to Scorpion, he was not much better off than Scorpion at this time. He was also releasing all his magic power to resist the ultimate dual fire as much as possible. However, even under such circumstances, he still pulled Scorpion away and blocked in front of her. Seeing Scorpion and Cold Rain switch positions, Jidong couldn't help but be moved. He couldn't help but secretly admire his comrade for being able to do this. However, the war in front of him was a war between two continents. Of course, he couldn't give up the attack just because of his opponent's loyalty. The Brilliant Sun Cone brazenly blasted out, and it looked like it was about to hit Cold Rain. Jidong wasn't excited because he could kill Cold Rain. Such an enemy was worthy of respect. Suddenly, a dazzling golden light descended from the sky, and a strong golden light instantly blocked in front of Cold Rain. The golden light carried a sharpness that shocked Jidong. It crossed the void and landed on the Brilliant Sun Cone. A strange scene appeared. Jidong's tyrannical flame, Sovereign King's sure kill technique, was actually split apart by the golden light. The strong Xingwu Primordial Yang Sacred Fire could only sweep past Cold Rain and Scorpion, but couldn't hurt them. At the same time, a muffled groan sounded in midair. The Thunder Emperor and the Final Weapon, who were in a white-hot state of battle, seemed to have a winner. A large amount of golden light rain descended from the sky, and the Final Weapon, Li Yonghao, let out a mournful cry. Large pieces of its scales were scattered in all directions under the bombardment of the bluish-purple lightning battle axe. It seemed that both man and dragon had suffered serious injuries. Li Yonghao roared angrily. Under the burst of golden light, he forcefully blocked Fury's next attack. He quickly urged the black dragon beneath him to turn around and run. His voice became much louder as he said, "Retreat." The opportunity was fleeting. In this short period of time, Scorpion and Cold Rain had already caught their breath. However, Jidong was unable to chase after them because he had used the Brilliant Sun Cone. Scorpion grabbed Cold Rain's shoulder, and the two of them descended rapidly. The moment their feet touched the ground, they were already heading in the direction where Li Yonghao had landed. That's right, to be able to forcefully split apart Jidong's Flame Sovereign King sure kill technique in such a chaotic battlefield, the Brilliant Sun Cone was the only weapon. Jidong deeply felt the gap between him and a true powerhouse. Li Yonghao's use of the ultimate metal-coated demonic energy could be said to have reached the acme of perfection. If it wasn't for the sake of saving Scorpion and Cold Rain, it would still be difficult to determine the winner in the battle between him and Fury. Without a doubt, the outcome of this battle had already been decided. What should happen next was to kill as much of the opponent's strength as possible during the pursuit and completely determine the outcome of this battle. However, at this moment, Jidong's eyes widened in anger, and he couldn't help but roar, "Bastard!" In the battle between the light and darkness continents, the light side had finally won. However, The situation on the other side was so enraged that Ji-dong's eyes almost spat fire. The 8 radiant heavenly stem saints combined their strength. In addition to Hua-Er's ultimate dual fire demonic energy, barely formed the yin-yang boundary of the 5 elements to completely seal the Thistle fire dragon. The Thistle fire dragon's 60-meter-tall body was in imminent danger under the yin-yang boundary of the 5 elements. It could only curl its body into a ball, and the protruding spikes on its body shattered under the yin-yang boundary of the 5 elements. Its entire body constantly emitted bluish-purple light to resist the pressure, but it could not hold on for much longer. At this moment, the outcome of the main battlefield was decided. Ji-dong never expected that the yin-yang boundary of the 5 elements would actually break at this moment. It wasn't broken by the Thistle fire dragon, but by itself. The light Earth Saint Ao Foam shouted, "Everyone, use your sure kill technique to kill it, quickly." Chapter 171. Just as the thorny lightning fire dragon was about to be destroyed by the 5 elemental yin-yang world, the light Earth holy disciple Ao Foam suddenly retracted his attack and shouted, ordering all the holy disciples to attack the thorny lightning fire dragon with their sure kill skills. Ji-dong's eyes were spitting fire when he saw that. How could Ji-dong not see through Ao Feng's intentions? If the main battlefield was still in a stalemate, the yin-yang boundary would not be dispelled. Ao Feng and the others would have enough time to suppress the thorny lightning fire dragon until it was completely dead. However, seeing that the radiant 5 elements continent had already won, Ao Feng's mind changed. Anyone could see that the thorny lightning fire dragon would bring them great benefits. He was afraid that Fury, the Thunder Emperor, would come back to snatch it. Although the yin-yang boundary would definitely win, it would still take some time to completely destroy the thorny lightning fire dragon. He could not afford to wait any longer. His plan was simple. After dispelling the yin-yang boundary, he would use his strongest move to attack the thorny lightning fire dragon. He would kill it quickly, reap the benefits, and leave this place. It was precisely because Ji-dong saw through this that he cursed out loud. He had never thought that these holy disciples of the radiant heavens would be so despicable and shameless. Compared to Hanyu, who risked his own safety to protect Scorpion, they were simply worse than pigs and dogs. How could they be called radiant? Ao Feng, what are you doing? Yao Qinshu roared. Ao Feng quickly gathered his demonic power and replied coldly, "Are you planning to let the Thunder Emperor take advantage of you? Hurry up and use your ultimate move. The thorny lightning fire dragon can't hold on any longer." Before Ao Feng finished speaking, the thorny lightning fire dragon, which was curled up and trembling, suddenly raised its head. All the holy disciples could see was its bloodshot eyes. "Hua, come back!" Ji-dong shouted. Hua-Er was extremely quick-witted. It turned around in the air and did not fly towards Hyoheim. Instead, it quickly used the soaring Yang Flames formation. Extreme Yang Flames burst forth and it flew towards the sky. Ao Feng had played his cards well, but he had forgotten the saying that a centipede would not fall down even if it died. He had also forgotten about the 4 words backlash before death. Furthermore, this Thistle lightning fire dragon was still far from death. Without the thorns on its body, the thorny lightning fire dragon released even more terrifying demonic power. A ring of red and a ring of purple light shone from the top of its head to the bottom of its feet. Then, the thorns that had been melted by the yin-yang 5-element world actually grew out of its body again. Every single thorn turned red and purple, and an aura like lava burst forth from its body. Its already ferocious body instantly turned red and purple. It looked as strange as it could get. The thorny lightning fire dragon roared at the sky, as if it was about to explode in anger. In the next moment, its body expanded terrifyingly, and countless rays of red and purple energy, filled with a destructive aura, shot out. The dark clouds in the sky turned red and purple. At this moment, the thorny lightning fire dragon seemed to have become one with the hidden world of innumerable lightning calamity. The ground turned red and purple, and all the soil within the basin turned into lava. Bolts of red and purple lightning descended from the sky, and the lava on the ground boiled. The air between the sky and the earth trembled violently. The terrifying scene made the world tremble. When Fury was fighting the thorny lightning fire dragon, why didn't he use any powerful skills to attack? Did he not want to end this magical beast's life as soon as possible? Of course not. It was precisely because he could see how powerful this thorny lightning fire dragon was that he didn't rush to attack. He was carefully waiting for an opportunity. After reaching the 7th rank, a magical beast's intelligence would increase. Even though this thorny lightning fire dragon had mutated and evolved, its intelligence was not low. It had always been waiting for an opportunity. It had always had a hidden killer, ready to use it at the most appropriate time. The suppression of the 5 elements yin-yang boundary made it so that it didn't even have a chance to use its killer move. When that terrifying boundary was suddenly removed, how could the thorny lightning fire dragon let go of such an opportunity? This hidden skill had even exceeded Fury's expectations. It was a super killing move. Even though it was only the most basic super killing move, or rather, it was only on the verge of becoming a super killing move. But how could it be called a super killing move for nothing? This skill was called Lightning Fire Purgatory. It was the thorny lightning fire dragon's dual attribute combination skill. After burning its life force and combining it with a magical power in its body, it would erupt with the strongest attack. Not good, retreat. Ao Feng had just condensed his killing move, but this time, he couldn't care about anything else. He quickly used his killing move and retreated like lightning. The Light Saints finally realized that danger was approaching, but at this moment, besides Yao Qianshu, who among them didn't have the same thought as Ao Feng, there was no medicine for regret in this world. The Light Saints released their ultimate magic power to the limit, trying to gather as many companions as possible to frantically retreat. But could their speed compare to the speed of the skill? At this moment, 8 dazzling bolts of bluish-purple lightning descended from the sky and landed on the 8 of them. Amidst the violent explosions, they were blasted away in all directions. Finally, the instant the purgatory of thunder and fire descended, they managed to escape the range of the ultimate skill as much as possible. Even so, they were still slightly affected by the terrifying sure kill skill. The 8 of them spurted out blood at almost the same time. Their bodies flickered with reddish-purple light as they were sent flying in all directions, crashing into the surrounding mountain walls. They were in an extremely sorry state. The one who attacked was Fury. No matter what, these 8 people were the Light Saints of the 5 Elements continent. They had ultimate magic power. Fury looked rough on the surface, but he was extremely considerate of the overall situation. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to lead the Yin-Yang school disciples to defeat their opponents on the holy evil battlefield twice. Seeing the thorny lightning fire dragon's terrifying killing move explode, he couldn't care less about chasing Li Yonghao and the Dark Magicians. He took the initiative and used 8 lightning attacks to blow away the 8 Light Saints. Although his lightning would injure the Light Saints, it was much better than being swallowed by the super killing move. Fire was also hit by Fury's lightning. She was directly sent flying in the direction of Jidong and fell into Jidong's arms. She was the fastest to react, so she wasn't affected by the lightning fire purgatory. However, Fury's lightning attack was not good for her either. Jidong hurriedly put her into his vermilion bird bracelet to recuperate, and at the same time, quickly retreated. At this moment, the entire valley basin had become a scene of purgatory. All the plants had been turned into nothingness, and it had become a world of lava. The fire element in the air was so dense that it was sticky, and there were large amounts of lightning constantly falling from the sky. The thorny lightning fire dragon bathed in this super killing move and continuously let out arrogant roars. Amidst the violent roars, it madly ran in the opposite direction. If it wanted to escape, its life was the most important thing. With the super killing move blocking it, it was naturally much easier for it to run. Jidong flew up and landed on the back of the purple thunder heavenly dragon. He and Fury both had serious expressions. The two of them quickly discussed something in a low voice. Suddenly, Ji Dong said in a low voice, "Senior brother, give me 3 seconds." Fury was stunned for a moment. He looked at Hyoheim doubtfully and said, "Little junior brother, are you sure?" Ji Dong nodded very firmly. All this time, Fury's help and protection had allowed him to improve to such a level in a short period of time. It was time to repay his senior brother. "All right, I'll give you 3 seconds," Ji Rui shouted. Under everyone's shocked gazes, he actually flew in the direction of the super-killing move, Lightning Fire Purgatory. "Fury, don't go," Yi Xin shouted without a care for her image. Fury, who was sitting on the back of the Purple Thunder Heavenly Dragon, turned around and saw Yi Xion's tear-stained face. At this moment, he suddenly felt that his power seemed to have increased to an unprecedented level. Yi Xion's tears were like a catalyst for all the power in his body. A thunderous roar came from Fury's mouth, and bluish-purple lightning suddenly exploded. In just an instant, both his and the Purple Thunder Heavenly Dragon's bodies had become a transparent bluish-purple color. Lightning Elemental Body. This was a sign that the Thunder Emperor was about to go all out. At the same time that Fury flew out, the vermilion bird wings on Ji Dong's back had already spread open. His body shot out, and he was even more direct than Fury. He actually entered the range of the Lightning Fire Purgatory and chased after the thorny Lightning Fire Dragon. What were they doing? Had this pair of brothers gone mad? All the magic masters of the Heavenly Stem Legion were stunned, and so were the light saints who had struggled to get up from the mountainside. At this moment, the dark side had already been pushed back like the tide. The strongest, Li Yonghao, had been heavily injured by Fury, causing the dark side to retreat in defeat. Just as they passed over the mountain, the huge black dragon descended. The huge mana ripples from the Lightning Fire Purgatory made these dark magic masters turn their heads at the same time to look at the shocking changes in the sky. A woman covered in blue armor came to Li Yonghao's side and looked at him with concern. She asked, "Boss, are you all right?" Li Yonghao's pale face regained some color, and a faint smile appeared on his face. He said, "I'm fine. I'll let Fury get hurt on purpose. If I didn't do that, how could I lie to him for another 5 years?" Hanyu came over and said, "Boss, something seems to have happened over there. It should be that Thistle Lightning Fire Dragon showing its might. I don't know what's going on. Could it be that the 5 elements yin-yang world has been broken?" Li Yonghao frowned and said, "I don't know what's going on either. Logically speaking, once the 5 elements yin-yang world is formed, let alone a Class 9 magical beast, even a Class 10 magical beast wouldn't be able to break through it. Something must have happened over there. Although this is an opportunity for the sake of our grand plan, we must lose in this wholly evil battlefield. The only thing worth paying attention to is the Light Saint King. Unfortunately, we won't have the chance to destroy him before he matures. However, his strength alone isn't enough to turn the situation around. Pass down my order, those of the dark side, retreat to the first layer of the holy evil island. After this battle, Fury and the others should be satisfied. We also have enough crystal crowns to leave the battlefield. The more they feel that we are cowardly and not strong enough, the better." "Yes," the surrounding people respectfully replied. Scorpion quietly arrived behind Hanyu and patted his shoulder. "Why did you stand in front of me just now?" Hanyu's sissy tone didn't change. "I'm a real man. How can I let a woman be a shield?" His words were very firm, but he couldn't help but pinch his thumb and middle finger when he said it. Scorpion giggled. "All right, today is the first time I see that you are indeed a man. No matter what, thanks I owe you." Hanyu chuckled and said with bad intentions, "Repay me with your body." Scorpion snorted, "In your dreams. Don't forget our mission. If the light doesn't extinguish, how can we call ourselves home?" Hearing this, Hanyu's sissy temperament seemed to restrain itself a bit. He forcefully nodded his head and fiercely said, 5 more years, 5 more years. At that time, we must sweep through the radiant 5 elements continent." Something suddenly appeared in Scorpion's eyes. "If you can kill that hateful barbarian, maybe I'll consider it." The darkness quickly retreated. On the other side, Fury and Ji-dong had already arrived at the terrifying demonic power of the ultimate skill. The purple thunder heavenly dragon flew high into the sky, and Fury raised the thunder axe in his hand. The front of the axe was as sharp as a spear, and the glaring bluish-purple light turned into a huge sphere. Suddenly, the purplish-red lightning that fell from the sky seemed to have found a source to vent. Under the attraction of the thunder axe, all the lightning concentrated on the thunder axe in Fury's hand. The stimulating purplish-red lightning immediately dyed the bodies of Fury and the purple thunder heavenly dragon the same color. However, as a user of the thunder element, the Thunder Emperor actually withstood it. With a muffled groan, Fury's 7 orifices bled at the same time. This was, after all, a beginner's ultimate skill. Even though he was withstanding only half of the power of this ultimate skill, it was still an extremely terrifying burden. "Junior, I can hold on for 7 seconds." Fury roared. Both he and the purple thunder heavenly dragon unleashed their full power. They were like pillars that could support the sky, holding up the lightning. 7 seconds. It was easy to say, but these 7 seconds were life and death for Fury and the purple thunder heavenly dragon. Everyone knew the result after these 7 seconds. How much trust did Fury have in Ji-dong to make such a risky choice? Even if he was a 7-crown magic master and a rank 8 magical beast, he still couldn't withstand the terrifying power of the ultimate skill. Ji-dong didn't say anything, but his flying speed had reached the limit. The dark moon quietly appeared behind him. At this moment, under the influence of the ultimate skill, Thunderfire Purgatory, there were only 2 kinds of magic elements that could appear in the air: fire and thunder. Fury withstood the thunder, while Ji-dong erupted with fire. What method was he going to use to deal with the Thistle Thunderfire Dragon? Chapter 172. With the cry of a phoenix, Hua appeared in the sky once again. His aura was no longer as strong as when he had first appeared to help Radiant Light and the other holy disciples form the yin-yang world of the 5 elements. He spread his wings, but he did not accompany Ji-dong as he charged forward. Instead, he flew towards the mountain peak and did not enter the purgatory of lightning and fire. The pitch-black demon Lord yin-yang armor, the pitch-black vermilion bird inner armor, the pitch-black vermilion bird wings, and even the pitch-black yin fire soaring formation. In addition to the pitch-black moon, at this moment, the feeling that Ji-dong gave off was that of a darkness that could devour everything. The darkness instantly expanded. The dark flame Devil King's body, which was filled with the aura of death, quietly appeared. Immediately, the dark moon behind Ji-dong's back shone brightly, and the enormous magma and flames below seemed to be devoured as they flowed unceasingly into the body of darkness. Ji-dong's left hand was raised horizontally by his side. He opened his palm and formed a claw, elegant and cold. Under the contrast of the deathly darkness, he once again became the elegant and cold Devil King. The black moon in the sky shot down a pitch-black ray of light and landed on his left hand. At the same time, the black moon behind him and all the darkness that the dark flame Devil King had brought all fused together. The moon will make you think of me. Forbidden 100,000 silent flame ice. All the darkness condensed into a dancing black flame above Ji-dong's left hand. That black flame could actually reflect a strange luster. It was clearly a flame, but it gave off a strange feeling like ice. In the next moment, this gloomy and strange black flame had already broken through the air with an almost hysterical arrogance. Everywhere it passed, a pitch-black tunnel actually appeared in the air. What was even more strange was that as the cold flame flew forward, it actually spread rapidly. The fire element in the purgatory of lightning and fire seemed to be its fuel, constantly being devoured. The increase in strength was not only about the level of magic power, but also the understanding of skills. It was still the same forbidden 100,000 silent flame ice, but the one that Ji-dong used this time was very different from before. The silent flame ice could continuously increase in flight. There was only one explanation, and that was that in the process of flight, It had fused with Ji Dong's fire demon devour skill, using the magic power of the outside world to strengthen itself. This was no longer just a simple killing move. It could be said that it was the peak that Ji Dong's control of magic power had reached at this time. Traveling in the darkness, the master of the darkness had turned from a devil king to a tyrant. Glaring golden flames rose almost in the next moment. His body only paused for a moment, and the flame monarch body had already been rendered. The fire demon devour was activated to the maximum, and he forcefully endured the strong burden that the magma fire brought to his body in the process of crazily absorbing. The yin-yang universe behind him rotated rapidly, and the yin fire soaring array had already transformed into a yang fire condensing array, and a golden sun slowly rose behind him. The figure that spread its golden wings and lit up the void with golden flames. At that moment, it glided in the air as if it had crossed the void. The pure, golden, blazing Bingwu primordial yang, sacred fire, seemed to have experienced the baptism of thousands of lifetimes. He raised his left hand back, and his right hand clenched into a fist as he charged forward. At that moment, Ji Dong's entire body seemed to have turned into the most dazzling golden flame. The golden flame turned into a giant cone that was 5 meters long, with an infinite golden tail flame, as if it could pierce through the entire world and chased after the cold black flame. There seemed to be countless light spots gathered on the golden cone from the magma below, blooming like the sun at noon. The thorny lightning fire dragon never thought that after it released its strongest skill, someone would actually dare to attack it head-on against the sure-kill lightning fire purgatory. Even though it was a peak Class 9 magical beast, it was already extremely weak after the consumption of the 5 elements yin-yang world and the release of the lightning fire purgatory. Otherwise, it would not have been in such a hurry to escape. The coldness made it tremble, and every thorn on its body could feel the cold aura of extinction. With a roar, the thistle lightning fire dragon fiercely turned around. Its 30-meter-long tail swept out with incomparably tyrannical power. The area covered by its huge tail was too large. Under the sudden sweep, it was the ghost flame ice. However, what happened next made everyone hold their breath and widen their eyes. The moment the thorny lightning fire dragon's huge tail came into contact with the ice of flames, that elegant black color actually spread along its tail. In the blink of an eye, it had already spread to every corner of its body. The 60-meter-tall and incomparably majestic thorny lightning fire dragon was like a black crystal statue at this moment, frozen in place, unable to move at all. If the thorny lightning fire dragon was still at its peak, perhaps Ji Dong mana would not have been enough to injure it, but it was just an arrow at the end of its flight. How could it still have enough power to resist the all-out attack of the Dark Flame Devil King that Ji Dong had turned into? Or was the Ice of Flames? That attack was not only Ji Dong's own power, but had also absorbed the terrifying mana from the Thunderfire Purgatory. From this, it could be seen that although the thorny lightning fire dragon could cast the Thunderfire Purgatory, its mental strength was too far apart, and it could not control this ultimate attack to unleash its true destructive power. However, the Thistle Lightning Fire Dragon's physical strength was just too tyrannical, and the strength of its vital energy and blood was far from what a human could compare to. Although its body had turned into a black crystal and was rapidly weakening under the corrosion of the Nether Flame Ice's extreme Yin fire, cracks had already appeared on the black crystal in the next moment. Even though it was the Dark Flame Devil King's sure kill technique, it could only restrain it for a limited time. It was also at this moment that the 5-meter-long brilliant sun, all that seemed to be able to pierce through heaven and earth, arrived with a loud bang. When a violent golden-red flame came into contact with the gloomy nirvana black crystal, all the air within a diameter of 1,000 square meters froze. Due to the Thistle Lightning Fiery Dragon's movement, Fury wasn't enveloped within this range. The purplish-red lightning in the sky seemed to have solidified and quietly disappeared. Fury felt his body lighten, and the purple thunder heavenly dragon beneath him began to tremble involuntarily. It flapped its wings and quickly brought Fury away from the solidified air. All of this took a long time to describe, but from the moment Fury blocked the lightning to the moment the air froze, only 3 seconds had passed. Relying on his precise calculation of distance and perfect control of his own mana, Ji-dong had achieved his goal. When he saw the magma in the purgatory of lightning and fire, he had thought of using this attack. With his current strength, if he wanted to destroy the peak Class 9 magical beast in front of him, he could only rely on a super ultimate attack. This was also the result of his discussion with Fury. The dark clouds split open, and even the deeper world of myriad lightning calamity behind the dark clouds split open, revealing a sky of 1,000 square meters. However, the sky was not dark blue, but a strange scene of half black and half gold. In the center of the golden sky was a pitch-black crescent moon, while in the middle of the black sky was a golden sun. The fusion of black and gold seemed to cause the world to become violet. Forbidden, 100,000 brilliant sun all. Forbidden, 100, brilliant sun all. The fusion of the two sovereigns' ultimate attacks naturally brought about a super ultimate attack filled with the fusion of yin and yang, the world of yin and yang moon. Gold and black. The two rays of light each transformed into a 100-meter-tall figure that was even more majestic than the thorny lightning fire dragon. When the two figures appeared, their hands were tightly clasped together. The two huge figures firmly locked the thorny lightning fire dragon in the center. If it could be said that the 5 elements yin-yang world made the thistle lightning fire dragon feel powerless and unable to display its elemental advantage no matter what, then at this moment, the appearance of the two great sovereigns filled its huge eyes with despair. The ultimate yin fire and ultimate yang fire fused together. The black and gold in the sky fused together, condensing into a huge yin-yang pattern. Half of the core was the golden sun, while the other half was the dark moon. The heat of the magma in the purgatory of thunder and fire turned into countless red rays that swarmed out and injected into the bodies of the two sovereigns. All the manic fire elements in the air became fuel for the two sovereigns at this moment. With the help of the power of the purgatory of thunder and fire to complete one's ultimate attack, only the owner of the flame of chaos could succeed. His body floated above the thorny lightning fire dragon. At this time, Ji-dong was like the ruler of all the flames between heaven and earth. The world of yin and yang moon, the world of yin and yang, finally appeared for the second time. This time, it was released completely according to Ji-dong's plan. The fire elements brought by the purgatory of thunder and fire were more powerful than the power of the 4 dragons and 4 snakes that Ji-dong had released. This was also the source of Ji-dong's confidence. As long as the thunder in the purgatory of thunder and fire did not affect him, he had the confidence to release this attack. Everyone was stunned. None of the light demon masters could imagine that among them, there was actually someone who could surpass the Thunder Emperor and release an ultimate attack. Of course, they did not know how difficult it was for Ji-dong to form this ultimate attack. All they saw was the truth. It's him, it's him. Ao Feng shouted in a trembling voice. This is the person who released the ultimate attack. He should be our last saint of light. He did not recognize Ji-dong, who was wearing the Ziju and Devil yin-yang armor. Although they were not within the range of the world of yin and yang, the suffocating pressure of heaven and earth had already made everyone tremble in fear. Yao Qinshu spat out another mouthful of blood. Green qi circulated around his body as he healed himself. He said coldly, "That is Ji-dong, the Ji-dong who was rejected by you. Now you should understand who the real Saint King of Light is." Ao Feng turned his head to look at Yao Qinshu. The other saints also looked at him in disbelief. Yao Qinshu said coldly, "Although I have not seen his armor, his inner armor and wings have not changed." Ao Feng's eyes revealed a trace of confusion. Facing the situation in front of him, he already did not know how to face it. If what Yao Qinshu said was true, what should he, who considered himself the strongest saint of light, do? Wanting to take back the extreme demonic power of the yin and yang double fire saint from the hands of an expert who could use the ultimate attack was tantamount to a fool's talk. Only by seeing it with one's own eyes could one understand how terrifying the ultimate attack was. This time, the light demon masters of the Heavenly Stem Army who participated in the Battle of Saint Evil were fortunate enough to witness this scene. Within the range of the world of yin and yang, there were only two colors, gold and black. The huge yin and yang fish in the sky began to rotate. From the sky to the ground, the brilliant gold and black mixed light also rotated violently. The thick light pillar, with a diameter of more than 1,000 meters, spread from the center to the surroundings. At this moment, it was no longer possible to distinguish the aura of the flame tyrant or the dark flame devil king. Only the aura of pride and destruction that they shared could be seen. The two figures that were more than 100 meters tall gradually merged into the terrifying light pillar. Within the light pillar, apart from Jidong, everything was purified by the purest yin and yang qi of heaven and earth. The sun and the moon represented the yin and yang qi of the two kings respectively. At that moment, the area within 1,000 meters completely became a dead land of silence. The bramble lightning fire dragon's huge body gradually melted in the terrifying demonic energy. Its spikes, its thick scales, its thick muscles, and its tough bones all gradually melted in the ultimate attack. Its huge body gradually melted as it breathed. When the last of its bones began to melt, suddenly something strange happened. A strong violet light suddenly lit up in the world of yin and yang. Even though it was an ultimate attack filled with the existence of fire elemental energy, it was unable to stop the violet light from spreading. With a loud rumble, the bramble lightning fire dragon's body was blown to pieces. Two rays of light shot into the sky at the same time. One of them was the size of a fist, completely red and violet. It was a diamond-shaped gem with a faint flow of air. It was the core of the bramble lightning fire dragon, a magical beast at the peak of the 9th rank. The other was the source of the violet light. It was an axe. The handle was only a foot long, and the blade was only the size of a palm. When it appeared, it didn't fly out along with the core. Instead, it bathed in the huge, demonic energy of the world of yin and yang and shone brightly. With another loud rumble, the sky was filled with thunder. The terrifying world of myriad lightning calamity actually caused a huge tremor. It was like the might of the heavens. Under the tremor of the demonic energy, Jidong's world of yin and yang also shattered. He only felt a righteous aura of heaven and earth rushing towards him, shaking his body and sending him flying. Fortunately, he still had the protection of the world of yin and yang, so he wasn't injured. Even the usually calm, Thunder Emperor Fury's expression changed greatly. Although Jidong's world of yin and yang was an ultimate attack, its range was limited. However, the world of myriad lightning calamity in the sky was a terrifying existence that covered the entire holy evil island. If it was activated, perhaps no creature on the holy evil island would be able to survive. Chapter 173. Everything in the surroundings turned into a bluish-purple luster. Everything within sight was completely enveloped by the mighty power of lightning. Everyone was intimidated by the might of the heavens and felt an indescribable trembling of thunder. Even moving had become difficult. The axe, which didn't look very big, seemed to be the center of the might of the heavens. Although it was small, it didn't affect its terrifying and domineering aura. Fortunately, the world of infinite lightning calamity wasn't triggered as everyone had hoped to see. The terrifying power of lightning in the sky seemed to be responding to the appearance of the axe. The bluish-purple luster and the massive power of lightning gradually dissipated, and even the air was filled with a dense aura of lightning. Just as his body regained its ability to move, a figure suddenly pounced in front of Fury. The purple thunder heavenly dragon was also a little sluggish due to the huge amount of lightning energy from before. It was unable to react in time, and the figure actually leaped onto its back. Fury instinctively raised the lightning axe in his hand, but he heard a trembling voice. "Fury, are you crazy? Do you want to die?" Fury understood. Only then did he realize that the person who had leaped onto the back of the purple thunder brilliant dragon was Yi Xian. At this moment, Yi Xian's face was already covered in tears, and her delicate body was trembling nonstop. She grabbed onto the handle of Fury's thunderous battle axe and yelled at him with rage, fear, and other complicated emotions. "You?" Fury looked at Yi Xian hesitantly. His heart ached slightly when he saw her crying. "Bastard, you bastard. Even if you want to die, don't do it in front of me." Yi Xian's voluptuous chest heaved violently due to her anger. Her emotions were extremely unstable. After shouting these words, she turned around and was about to leap off the purple thunder heavenly dragon. However, at this moment, a large hand grabbed onto her shoulder. "Yi Xian." Yi Xian turned around and looked at Fury, who was grabbing her shoulder. She said, 3 seconds. Do you know what those 3 seconds meant to me? You don't. You're a bastard with a heart of stone. What would you know? You've never known this. You're arrogant, self-opinionated, and unreasonable. When have you ever listened to the advice of others? You've always done things according to your own ideas, and you don't even give me a chance to explain. I'm going to bring everyone to deal with you, and I'm going to be with another man. I'm going to piss you off. From now on, I'm telling you, I'm going to completely remove your bastard figure from my heart. I'll never feel pain because of you again, never again. Bastard, let go of me." Yi Xian screamed hysterically, as if she wanted to release all the grievances and anger in her heart. Her body spasmed in fear Rue's palm, and she could no longer control her emotions. Looking at her, Fury's previously incomparably sharp gaze gradually softened. With a flip of his right hand, he hung the thunder battle axe on the purple thunder heavenly dragon saddle. Then he grabbed Yi Xian's shoulders with both hands and slowly said in his unique deep voice, "I was wrong. I was wrong." These are only 3 simple words. However, when these words came out of Fury's mouth, Yi Xian's hysterical outburst came to an abrupt halt. Even the expression on her face and the tears that were gushing out of her beautiful eyes stopped. Her entire body stiffened. What did you say?" Yi Xian asked in a trembling voice, filled with disbelief. "I didn't even give you a chance to explain. Now that I think back to what happened when we were together, I finally understand that I was blinded by anger. I shouldn't have left without listening to your explanation. I'm sorry, I was wrong. Yi Xian, even though I can't promise you that I'll change, I'll try my best. Are you willing to give me another chance?" Yi Xian stared at Fury, dumbfounded. She had never thought that Fury would actually say something like that. Large droplets of tears flowed down her face. She was frightened as she stared at Fury, and her body trembled even more violently. Fury's voice suddenly became firm. "No, I have to be stubborn for you one more time. You have to give me another chance. I won't let you leave me again, even if I have to dominate you. Your tears tell me that you've already agreed. From now on, you belong to me alone." As he spoke, he pulled Yi Xian into his embrace in a domineering manner unique to the Thunder Emperor. When Jidong was sent flying, he had already looked at Fury. Without a doubt, the appearance of the axe had verified Fury's guess. The axe was definitely a god artifact, and a lightning-attributed one at that. Apart from Fury, who else would be more suitable to be its master? Jidong's gaze turned towards Fury when he was knocked away. His eyes were filled with shock. As he stared at the axe. However, Jidong had never thought that he would actually see Xian and Fury put on such a good show of affection. Most of the people in the surroundings were attracted by them, while no one paid any attention to the axe floating in the air. If the god artifact had a spirit, it would definitely be furious. Yi Xian suddenly hugged Fury's neck and burst into tears. Although Fury's armor was ice cold, Yi Xian's heart was burning like lava at that moment. Several years of suffering had finally been released. What kind of feeling was this? The knot in her heart had finally been undone at that moment. Fury gently stroked Yi Xian's back as a faint smile appeared on his face. He had obviously seen the god artifact, lightning-attributed axe, but he now realized that compared to the god artifact, regaining Yi Xian's heart was more important. When he flew into the air, ready to withstand the lightning in the purgatory of lightning fire, he saw the tears on Yi Xian's face. He knew that he had been wrong. How could a woman who loved him so deeply do something that would betray him? Even if she had done it, what kind of torment would she have to endure? Even if Yi Xian had not come looking for him, he would not have let this torment continue. It was not just for Yi Xian, but for himself as well. When had he ever forgotten about her? Ji Dong took deep breaths to calm the surging blood in his body. He was filled with envy as he looked at Fury and Yi Xian. Vaguely, he seemed to see himself and the flaming bar as the male and female protagonists. In the face of love, a god artifact was nothing more than an ice-cold weapon. The second time he used the world of sun and moon, Ji Dong was not completely drained like the first time. Instead, he still had 10% of his mana left in his body. However, the two elemental summons were still completely absorbed by the ultimate skill. The fire element contained in the purgatory of lightning fire was too vast. Ji Dong's world of sun and moon could be said to be the pinnacle of the fire attribute. He used the fire element contained in the ultimate skill to cast his ultimate skill. This was the main reason why Ji Dong was so confident that he could succeed. Reality proved that he had indeed succeeded. The scorching lightning and fire dual attribute crystal core comforted Ji Dong's palm. The dense fire element was continuously transmitted into Ji Dong's body, replenishing his mana, as expected of a level 9 crystal core. Even though Ji Dong was already absorbing it quickly, he could still feel the mana contained within the crystal core surging like the sea. Furthermore, he could vaguely feel that the crystal core itself was absorbing the mana from the outside world to replenish itself. A level 6 crystal crown and a level 7 crystal core were both qualitative leaps. They could both absorb the elements in the air to replenish themselves. The two crystal crowns on Ji Dong's dual radiance of sun and moon gloves were used by Zhu Yin to strengthen the amplification ability of the gloves. In this pure level 9 crystal core, although it was a dual attribute of lightning and fire, it could also quickly help Ji Dong recover his mana. With it, Ji Dong could rely on the formation to condense mana, and his mana recovery speed would at least double. Flame quietly descended and landed on Ji Dong's shoulder. It spread its wings, and the extreme yin-yang fire aura surged out. The reason why Ji Dong let it out was because he was afraid that it would be drained again when he used the world of sun and moon. With Flame here, even if he fell into a weakened state, at least Flame could protect him. With Flame's strength at the 5th step, it would have no problem dealing with an ordinary 6-crown Demon Master. Ji Dong pointed at the axe floating in the air and said, "Flame, take it back." Little Flame nodded and spread his wings. In the blink of an eye, he had already flown above the axe. After a slight hesitation, he used his claws to carefully grab the battle axe. Strangely enough, when Little Flame touched the small and exquisite axe, the light on its body immediately dimmed. At a glance, it looked like an ordinary metal object. Returning to Ji Dong's side, Flame handed the axe to Ji Dong. Without the cover of the light, this small axe was completely purple. To Ji Dong's surprise, this small axe was actually engraved with extremely complicated magic patterns. Every pattern had its own system, as if each of the 5 elements formations was engraved on it. Although it was not big, its weight was extremely shocking. When it fell into his hand, it was at least 150 kilograms. Ji Dong could barely hold it steadily by gathering his magic power. Many gazes shifted from Fury and Yi Xian to Ji Dong's hand. Among them, there was no lack of greedy and jealous gazes. The Yin-Yang Hall's disciples displayed extremely high quality. They quickly reorganized the Light Demon Masters and counted the number of casualties. It was as if they did not see this axe, and they cleaned up the battlefield in an orderly manner. However, some people were not satisfied. Light Earth Holy Disciple Ao Feng, Light Gungjin Holy Disciple Wanrua, Yao Qianshu, and the rest of the Light Saints slowly walked over. They looked as miserable as they could be. The Lightning Fire Purgatory was launched by the Thistle Lightning Fire Dragon. Although they managed to survive Fury's lightning, the aftermath of the ultimate skill still caused them to be seriously injured. Even if they relied on their ultimate mana, they wouldn't be able to recover in a short period of time. Yao Qianshu's expression was the worst. He followed at the back, while Ao Feng walked at the front. The 8 of them stood in front of Jidong. Ao Feng's arrogant expression had already disappeared. He asked tentatively, "Are you really Jidong?" Jidong slowly took off the Devil Lord Yin-Yang Armor's mask, revealing his original appearance. Looking at his face, Ao Feng's expression became complicated. He murmured, "Since you have such strength, you can indeed join us, holy disciples. We welcome you." Jidong looked at them coldly and said, "I'm not interested. I've said it before, I've never wanted to become a holy disciple." Guanrao, who was at the side, said, "But you already have the ultimate dual fire magic power. That makes you a holy disciple." Jidong glanced at him and said, "Didn't you say that I'm not worthy?" Guanrao was embarrassed and could not say anything. Jidong's gaze once again turned to Ao Feng and said, "I'll say it again. I, Jidong, have nothing to do with you holy disciples. I will never associate with despicable people. If you want to kill me and take my crystal crown, I'll be waiting for you at any time." Ao Feng angrily said, "Jidong, don't go too far. We've already taken the initiative to invite you. What else do you want?" Jidong indifferently smiled and said, "People with different principles cannot make plans together." Ao Feng violently gasped for breath. Because of his emotional fluctuations, he could not help but cough out a mouthful of blood. Guanrao stared at the axe in Jidong's hand and said, "It's fine if you don't want to join. But we also helped kill the Thistle Lightning Fire Dragon. There's so many of us. You've already taken the crystal core, so this axe should belong to us." What was shameless? There was only the most shameless, nothing more shameless. Jidong was so angry that he laughed and said, "It seems that this is your real goal, right? If you have the ability, come and take it yourself. I've seen shameless people, but I've never seen such shameless people. Are you even worthy of being called holy disciples?" Long Tan, Shui Ruhan, and the other experts of the Yin-Yang Hall had already gathered around them. They looked at Ao Feng and the others with disdain. Yao Qianshu walked out from the group of holy disciples. His expression was extremely ugly as he said in a low voice, "From now on, I'll withdraw from the heavenly stem, holy disciples. From now on, I have nothing to do with you. It's really a disgrace to be mentioned in the same breath as you people." Ao Feng was stunned for a moment and said anxiously, "Yao Qianshu, are you crazy?" Yao Qianshu said coldly, "I'm not crazy. The ones who are crazy are you. I really don't understand why the heavens would bestow the ultimate demonic power on despicable, shameless, and selfish people like you." At this moment, a sonorous voice rang out, "Scram! Don't let me see you again." Fury, the Thunder Emperor, had already arrived beside Jidong with the Xi in his arms. The Heavenly Stem holy disciples could not help but turn their heads when his domineering gaze swept past them. They did not dare to meet his eyes. "Scram!" The disciples of the Yin-Yang Hall roared at the same time. Ao Feng's body trembled slightly. He pointed at Hyoheim and the rest of the Yin-Yang Hall and said, You wait here. We're leaving."